Welcome to NTD News Today. Here are today's top stories. The suspect in Charlie Kirk's assassination is facing 7 charges, including aggravated murder. That means he could be facing the death penalty. President Trump kicks off his 2-day UK visit with a meeting at Windsor Castle with King Charles III. Trump received the largest ever military ceremony for a visiting leader. FBI Director Kash Patel is on Capitol Hill for a second day of questioning by lawmakers. We'll tune in to that hearing.
This is NTD News Today, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Today is Wednesday, September 17th. I'm Alice Tang. Officials in Utah are seeking the death penalty against Charlie Kirk's suspected assassin. That's as new details emerge in the case, with prosecutors saying more DNA at the crime scene links to the suspect, which is a 22-year-old Tyler Robinson. Our correspondent Jack Bradley has more from the courthouse in Provo, Utah.
22-year-old Tyler Robinson is facing 7 charges in relation to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Those charges include aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury, 2 counts of obstruction of justice, 2 counts of witness tampering, and committing the crime in front of children, some younger than 14 years old. Robinson made his first court appearance on Tuesday wearing a jacket that prevents suicide. The Utah County Attorney is seeking the death penalty.
The defendant is believed to have targeted Charlie Kirk based on Charlie Kirk's political expression and did so knowing that children were present and would witness the homicide. I am filing a notice of intent to seek the death penalty. I do not take this decision lightly, and it is a decision I have made independently.
Aggravated murder is the only offense which could lead to the capital punishment here in the state of Utah, and if convicted, the death penalty. It's being charged as aggravated murder because the assassination of Kirk took place in front of thousands, potentially causing death to others. According to prosecutors, DNA evidence linked to Robinson was found on the rifle.
DNA consistent with Robinson was found on the rifle's trigger. After shooting Mr. Kirk, Robinson hid the gun, discarded the clothing he wore when he fired the rifle, and told his roommate to delete incriminating text messages and not talk to police. Children were present at the time of the shooting.
Additionally, there are allegations of text messages between Robinson and his transgender roommate boyfriend in which he appears to confess to the crime of killing Charlie Kirk, and that he later allegedly told his roommate to delete those messages and not to talk to police.
To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you. Roommate, you weren't the one who did it, right? Robinson, I'm sorry. Roommate, why? Robinson, why did I do it? Roommate, yeah. Robinson, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence.
Investigators also found at Robinson's house bullet shell casings with etchings on them similar to the etchings found on the shells with the rifle at the crime scene. Further messages reveal that Robinson was allegedly planning the assassination for a week. Prosecutors also say that Robinson implied to his parents that he killed Kirk and that he wanted to kill himself afterwards, but that his parents and a family friend talked him into turning himself in. The next hearing is set for September 29th, and that's when Robinson will appear with a lawyer assigned to him by the county. He's going to be held at Utah County Jail until the conclusion of his case. Reporting from Provo, Utah, Jack Bradley, NTD News.
FBI Director Kash Patel is facing questions from the House Judiciary Committee now. It's the second oversight hearing for the head of the FBI. Let's tune in.
Categorically against political violence in America and determined to end, the cycles of political violence that have traumatized the country.
Well said. Chair now recognize the gentleman from Kansas, Mr. Schmidt, to lead us all in the Pledge of Allegiance. As is customary, we will begin with opening statements. 5 weeks ago, because of the work of Director Patel, we learned that the former chair of the House Intelligence Committee and current United States Senator leaked classified information. We learned this because a whistleblower came forward. Whistleblower with 23 years experience in the intelligence community, a Democrat staffer on the committee, said this: they were pressured to leak classified information, which sort of raises the obvious question. Why would the head of the Intelligence Committee, the chair of that committee, who's supposed to be guarding our secrets, why would he be encouraging the leaking of classified information? Whistleblower told us that answer as well. The leaked information was supposed to be used, the leaked information, false information, was going to be used to indict President Trump. Now, the former chairman wasn't the only person leaking information. Jim Comey was also sharing things he wasn't supposed to share. Again, don't take my word for it. The Inspector General told us this. In his report, he said, quote, James Comey violated FBI policy by disclosing classified information. And what was Comey's motive? Same as the senator from California: to sabotage and undermine President Trump's first term. And we know that Mr. Comey's not been shy about what his objective was. In fact, 4 months ago, he told us. Remember this? 8647, Jim Comey told us just 4 months ago. Now, how'd they do it? How did the former chair of the Intel Committee, the former FBI director, and others in our government attempt to undermine President Trump's first term? 7 weeks ago, because of the good work of the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, we learned from another whistleblower, a second whistleblower, that in the closing days of the Obama administration, the intelligence community assessment was changed. On December 5th, 2016, they had one assessment. That assessment said Russia did not impact the election vote count. There was a meeting at the White House on December 9th, 2016, where it was decided, no, we're not going to have that. We're going to come up with a new one. And the new one said Russia was trying to influence election and did influence election, which just wasn't accurate. And that new one is published on January 6, 2017. Let's just show you a few things that took place. I want to show you first this email from Admiral Rogers, the head of the NSA. You can see it was December 22nd. It says to Jim, John, and Jim Clapper, John Brennan, Jim Comey. And he says, I asked my team if they've had sufficient access to the underlying intelligence, sufficient time to review that intelligence. On both points, my team raised concern. Further states, my folks aren't fully comfortable. A few hours later, there's an email back to Admiral Rogers. This one is from Jim Clapper, and it says this: it is essential that we be on the same page and all of us are supportive of the report in the highest tradition of, that's our story and we're sticking to it. We may have to compromise on our normal modalities. This is one project that has to be a team sport. That's our story and we're sticking to it. Compromise on normal modalities, that's a fancy way of saying, that's the government speak for we're going to have to change the rules. In fact, we're not going to follow our own rules. And that's exactly what they did to get the objective they wanted, to undermine President Trump. Now, how did it specifically take place? The whistleblower said that the government officials ignored concerns about discredited information. And what was that discredited information? What was the discredited information that they didn't ignore the concerns about? What did they use, that discredited information? Of course, it was the dossier. The now famous Steele dossier that was paid for by the Clinton campaign when they hired the law firm Perkins Coie, who hired Fusion GPS, who hired the foreigner Christopher Steele, who wrote all this garbage and lies down. That is what was used to change the intelligence community report. And what happens next? What do Jim, John, and Jim do next? They go to Trump Tower on January 6, 2017 to brief then President-elect Trump about the dossier. Again, the Clinton-financed, foreign-authored dossier that the whistleblower knows is garbage and that they know is garbage. And then there's one final step. One final step. Jim Comey leaves that meeting with the president and immediately leaks to the press that they briefed the president on the discredited information. They briefed the president on the dossier and thereby given it some credibility and creating the basis and the predicate for all they did to the president. They leaked false information, they leaked classified information, they used and leaked discredited information, and they didn't follow their own rules, all to sabotage President Trump's first term. And but for this guy, Kash Patel, but for this guy, we would never have known this information. The good people of this great country would not have known what took place 8 years ago when they were trying to undermine the guy elected by we the people. And I want to thank Attorney General Bondi. She set up a special strike force, a special team to look into this and see if there's any criminal liability that exists in what took place. Now, in addition to getting the truth to the people, Director Patel is getting the bad guys off the street. He's moved agents out of Washington, got the focus off of politics here in D.C., and is instead putting bad guys behind bars. 21,000 violent criminals have been taken off the streets, which is a 125% increase from the comparable period in the previous administration. He's rescued 4,000 kids. He's got 1,300 predators who he's arrested. He's also ended the weaponization of the FBI. No more spying on parents at school board meetings. No more pre-dawn raids on pro-life Catholics. No more retaliation against whistleblowers. And he's given us information that Chris Wray didn't. Maybe said better, he's given us information that Chris Wray wouldn't. Director Wray didn't tell us that there were 26 confidential human sources at the Capitol on January 6, 2021, even though he was repeatedly asked about that by members of this committee. Director Wray didn't tell us that there were 17 of those confidential human sources who entered restricted space, 4 went in the Capitol. None of them were arrested. They weren't authorized to do that. They broke the law. None of them were arrested. Lots of American citizens were arrested, but the guys whose whose American tax dollars was used to pay these guys who broke the law, none of them were. One was recommended for charging and was not charged. And remember when Chris Wray told us that the Richmond field office memorandum on pro-life Catholics was just a one-off? Turns out he wasn't being square with dissent either. Director Wray wasn't square with us. He told us that multiple other offices were involved in targeting the Catholics. We got that information from Director Patel. We learned from Director Patel the FBI actually surveilled a priest, tried to get the priest to divulge information, break the priest-penitent relationship and confidence that exists. And Director Patel is saving taxpayers money. He's not going to build a new headquarters outside of D.C. He's going to keep the headquarters right here in the capital city. Save Americans money, save the taxpayers money. In 8 months, Director Patel has given us the facts. He's ended the weaponization at the FBI. He's taken bad guys off the streets, and he's saving taxpayers money. But my guess is the Democrats won't focus on all that good news. They'll focus on politics. They'll stick with Comey and Clapper and Brennan and continue to try to undermine President Trump. That I yield to the ranking member for an opening statement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and welcome, Director Patel. You and I have not had the opportunity to meet, and alas, you failed to respond to the 8 oversight letters I've sent you over the last 7 months. So we do have a lot of questions piling up for you, but I want to start with a word of praise. The first FBI director was J. Edgar Hoover, who steadfastly refused to hire women, African Americans, and other minorities as agents. And although he was a closeted homosexual who lived in domestic partnership for decades with Clyde Tolson, he also participated in anti-gay crusades. He aggressively promoted what we would today call white Christian nationalism, and he would undoubtedly be turning over in his grave to see as one of his successors a first-generation Indian American and a proud Hindu. So I congratulate you on being a breakthrough in this sense and being a beneficiary of the civil rights movement that opened up the FBI and the federal workforce to lots of people who never would have been hired in its first decades. Alas, you share J. Edgar Hoover's dangerous obsession with blind loyalty over professionalism and effective public policy. For Hoover, it was blind loyalty to him in keeping his secrets. For you, it's blind loyalty to Donald Trump in keeping his secrets. During your confirmation, it was widely noted on all sides that your primary qualification was your unwavering loyalty to Trump. Unlike other directors, you had no work experience at the FBI, but you had made over 1,000 media and political appearances in support of Trump's campaign. Your Senate confirmation vote was 51-49, the closest in history, with your opponents warning you were not qualified and had no interest in actually developing the qualifications for the job. I hoped that they were wrong. Alas, they were not. While most other new FBI directors drew on their experience as FBI agents, you didn't have that. But you did write a picture book trilogy for children ages 5 and up based on your experience clashing with President Trump's political enemies. In your book, you describe your literary alter ego, Kash the Knight, as a wacky, easily bored wizard carrying out King Donald's vengeance by driving his enemies out of the kingdom. In the books, King Donald is besieged by the evil Hillary Queentown, but saved in the end by Kash. Then Kash goes on to catch mules who are stealing the 2020 election for the great King Donald from Sleepy Joe. And then in the third book, Kash takes down the dragon of the jalapenos, nicknamed the DOJ. Your supporters had hoped that you would graduate from imagining yourself a romantic fairy tale knight to actually running America's premier federal law enforcement agency. Alas, just as we've learned how dangerous it is to put a science-denying anti-vaxxer in charge of our public health, we've learned how dangerous it is to name as director of the FBI a man who thinks of himself as a fairy tale knight who keeps a fire-breathing dragon named DOJ at home to forcibly drive villains out of the kingdom. When Charlie Kirk was assassinated, while his killer was still on the loose, you decided you didn't need to be at FBI headquarters in Washington to work with your team while the chaotic manhunt unfolded. You spent your evening dining in a swanky Midtown Manhattan restaurant and tweeting out false information that the subject of the shooting was in custody, a statement you had to retract 1 hour later. Your performance was so disturbing that even the MAGA base was alarmed. Culture warrior Christopher Rufo, who just a few months ago sat in your chair as a Republican witness, observed that you performed terribly, and he called for your ouster. The FBI might be able to survive your delusions of grandeur and the explosively volatile temper that was on display yesterday in the Senate. But the intractable problem is that you are running the FBI not as a law enforcement agency charged with keeping the American people safe, but as a political enforcement agency working directly for the president's vengeance campaign. 7 months in, it's impossible to overstate the destruction, chaos, and demoralization you've brought to the FBI and its workforce and the resulting danger your actions have caused to our country. You've been systematically purging the FBI of its most experienced and qualified agents, division leaders, and experts in counterterror, counterintelligence, and cybersecurity, precisely the people who have the expertise you lack and which the FBI and the country need. They've been expelled from the ranks of the Bureau simply because they did their duty investigating crimes, including those committed by the mob that attacked the Capitol on January 6, 2021, and beat the hell out of more than 140 police officers, or simply because you suspected them of being insufficiently loyal to Donald Trump. You illegally sacked Brian Driscoll, the former acting director of the Bureau and a decorated counterterrorism expert who worked at the FBI for nearly 20 years. According to Driscoll, you told him your own job, quote, depended on the removal of agents who worked on the cases against the president, regardless of whether the agents chose to work on those cases or not. You added, quote, the FBI tried to put the president in jail and he hasn't forgotten it. You forced out the leader of the Salt Lake City field office, Mehtab Saeed, just weeks before Charlie Kirk's assassination, depriving the FBI of an experienced counterterrorism expert described by her colleagues as absolutely the best and legendary. She would have led the FBI's manhunt had she not been fired. When Trump decided that rounding up immigrants with no criminal records was more important than preventing crimes like human trafficking of women and girls, drug dealing, terrorism, and fraud, you ordered the 25 largest field offices to divert thousands of agents away from chasing down violent criminals, sex traffickers, fraudsters, and scammers to carry out this immigration crackdown. Director Patel, you treated the men and women at FBI with disrespect and paranoia. You've assembled a roving band of freelancing henchmen within your office and charged them with conducting unauthorized investigations, targeting and harassing career FBI employees. Amazingly, you forced senior leadership to repeatedly take polygraph tests to prove their political loyalty and pushed out leaders who refused these demeaning exercises. And now we're seeing one very clear reason why you want to build a political FBI: the Epstein files. You want an FBI blindly loyal to Trump and to you as his enforcer so you can continue your cover-up of a massive international sex trafficking ring with more than 1,000 victims, betraying all of the survivors of the sexual violence. Before you got in this job, you called for full release of the Epstein files, telling podcaster Benny Johnson that the only reason the list was not released by DOJ and FBI was, quote, because of who's on that list. Upon your confirmation, you promised that, quote, there will be no cover-ups, no missing documents, no stone left unturned, and anyone from the prior or current bureau who undermines this will be swiftly pursued. This spring, you ordered hundreds of agents to pore over all the Epstein files, but not to look for more clues about the money network or the network of human traffickers. You pulled these agents from their regular counterterrorism or drug trafficking duties to work around the clock, some of them sleeping at their desks, to conduct a frantic search to make sure Donald Trump's name and image were flagged and redacted wherever they appeared, whether an email, a text, a letter, an interview, a photograph, or a video. In May, Attorney General Bondi reportedly told Trump that his name had indeed appeared multiple times throughout the Epstein files. And not long thereafter, in July, you and the Attorney General released a memo claiming that, quote, no further disclosure would be appropriate or warranted. In a few short months, how did you go from being a crusader for accountability and transparency for the Epstein files to being a part of the conspiracy and cover-up? The answer is simple. You said it yourself: because of who's on that list. Donald Trump's relationship with Epstein over the years is well documented. A week ago, the Oversight Committee released Trump's disturbing birthday book, Note to Epstein, written over a drawing of a woman's naked body, referring to a, quote, wonderful secret. The Oversight Committee obtained the note from the Epstein estate, not from the FBI, raising questions again of whether the FBI has been withholding documents. While you're unleashing the FBI to cater to Trump's desire to shut down the Epstein inquiry, the first 9 months of the Trump presidency have seen a spate of political violence and domestic terror events. We saw deadly attacks on political figures on both the left and the right. The brutal assassination of Minnesota Democratic House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband, and the attempted murder of Democratic State Senator John Hoffman and his wife, who miraculously survived a combined 17 gunshots. We saw an arsonist set Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's residence on fire. And of course, last week, we saw the horrific, cold-blooded assassination of Charlie Kirk in Utah that has shaken the nation. 1 minute after Charlie Kirk was shot in the neck, a 16-year-old shooter in Evergreen, Colorado, radicalized by white supremacist ideology online, opened fire and critically wounded 2 other students at Evergreen High School. We've seen lethal anti-Semitic violence, including the murder of 2 young Israeli embassy staffers just blocks from the Capitol, and then in the attack on a gathering of Jewish people in support of hostages held in Gaza in Boulder in June. We've seen continued mass shootings at schools, like the domestic terror incident at a Catholic school in Minneapolis last month, which killed 2 children and wounded 18 others. And in August, a man fired more than 500 bullets at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, killing a police officer who was a Marine veteran and a father. People like Melissa Hortman and Charlie Kirk should be able to participate in politics as elected officials or active citizens without being shot down in cold blood in the United States of America. People should also be able to go to elementary school, to middle school, to high school, to work, to the mall, and to church without being shot down in explosions of gun violence. The important position at the FBI requires a leader who puts public safety and national security and the rule of law first. I'm afraid, Director Patel, you've given us reason to believe you've used the powers of the FBI to serve Donald Trump and his agenda of partisan retribution. You've broken your promise not to do that. You've betrayed Jeffrey Epstein's victims and survivors. You've turned your back on the career law enforcement officers of the FBI, and as a result, you've left all of us less safe than before. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. That opening statement may have been longer than any book director's ever written or anyone else has written. Without objection, all of the opening statements will be included in the record. We will now introduce today's witness. Mr. Patel has been the director of the FBI since February of 2025. He previously served as chief of staff at the Department of Defense, deputy director of national intelligence with the National Security Council, and also as a congressional staffer, as a federal prosecutor, where he focused on national security cases. And he also worked as a public defender in the state of Florida. We welcome our witness, appreciate his work, and thank him for appearing here today. We will begin by swearing you in. Director, would you please stand, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief, so help you God? Let the record reflect that the witness has answered in the affirmative. You can be seated as you are. You know, you've been through this yesterday. Did a fine job. Please know that your written testimony will be entered into the record in its entirety. Accordingly, we ask that you summarize your testimony. Director, you may begin.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Raskin, and members of the committee. I want to begin today by discussing the appalling assassination of Charlie Kirk. It's important for this FBI to be transparent without jeopardizing our investigations, so a little bit of the timeline is important. Charlie Kirk was unfortunately assassinated on September 10th. We immediately, the next day, released images early in the day in local time in Utah to start the public partnership in our manhunt for the assassin and culprits. At approximately 5 p.m. local time, I arrived on the ground and walked the crime scene myself, and we flew multiple FBI assets in and out to process DNA simultaneously while bringing in evidence response technicians, hostage rescue teams, and other experts to assist state and local law enforcement with their investigation. At 8 p.m. local on September 11th, the FBI collected and populated and promulgated at a press conference a video of the suspect on the grounds. We also released enhanced images. Due to that release that I directed and ordered, the suspect involved was apprehended and in custody at 10 p.m. local time. That's less than 2 hours after we did the video release and the photo release. So within 33 hours, that individual suspect was in custody, and his family, who has since been interrogated, specifically stated to FBI interrogators that because of the video that the FBI released at my direction and because of the photographs that they released, they identified their son, they confronted their son when he swung by their home, and that's what led to his apprehension. We are still, the FBI has that investigation ongoing, and it continues to be ongoing, and I want to thank the state of Utah and the state and local authorities there. And I also want to thank the Attorney General and President Trump for directing resources to allow us to conduct that investigation as we have. Under this administration, the FBI has arrested more than 23,000 violent criminals. 23,000 in 7 months. That's twice as many year to date last year. We've taken over 6,000 firearms off the streets. 6,000 guns are no longer in the hands of criminals in 7 months. We've identified and found and located 4,700 child victims. That is a 35% increase year to date last year. We have arrested 1,500 child predators. That is a 10% increase year to date last year in just 7 months. We've assisted our partners with countless counterterrorism operations around the world. We've captured at the FBI 4 of the most top 10 wanted fugitives in the world in 7 months. To put that in perspective, that's as many as my predecessor nabbed in the entirety of the Biden administration. We got 4, we got more coming. On top of that, in 2 weeks, thanks to the help of the CIA, we collected and captured one of the individuals responsible for the horrific Abbey Gate bombing that led to the murder of 13 service members. We did that in 2 weeks. They didn't do it in the 4 years of the entire prior administration. Nationwide, we've been executing our Operation Summer Heat, the FBI's national focus on targeting violent crime based on intelligence-driven operations. Ask the citizens of Seattle, Miami, Memphis, Charlotte, Chicago, New Orleans. To specifically highlight New Orleans and Nashville, there has been a 250% increase in violent crime arrests in those cities alone and other mid-major cities that I've just listed. In just a few short months, we have already unleashed 1,000 FBI personnel across this country. Every single state across this country is getting a plus up. This is a fiction that the FBI is short or that we are compromising the men and women in the field. They do not need to be in Washington, D.C., so we're sending them into the field to each and every one of your states. Because of that, crime is at an all-time low. We had to do it because of the explosion of crime. And maybe the most important stat for Americans to realize: in just 7 months, we are on track to produce the lowest murder rate in modern U.S. history by double digits. Those are results not of mine. Those are results of the men and women of the FBI. If you want to criticize me, bring it on, but do not attack the brave leaders in the field. We are also working 24/7, 365 on the opioid epidemic that is killing more than hundreds of thousands of people a year. We have seized 1,600 kilograms of fentanyl off the streets so far in 7 months. Year to date, 25% increase. To put that in perspective, that's enough to kill a third of the American population, 120 million Americans. 100,000 kilograms of cocaine and meth gone off the streets. Earlier this year, I highlighted in Cincinnati, Ohio, how we're getting creative to chase down those that were willing to do harm to our citizens, not just by striking at the heart of the fentanyl producers, but the fentanyl precursor companies in China. And we indicted for the first time multiple companies and individuals, not just in America, but in mainland China, that are producing the ingredients that produce and make fentanyl that kill our children. And we're going to keep going. Counterterrorism work, cyber attacks, and foreign adversaries are something the FBI must never sleep on, and we are not sleeping. In the counterintelligence space alone, this year, year to date, 30% increase in counterintelligence arrests from the DPRK, Russia, Iran, and China. And I want the American people to know, in this setting, there's a lot of work that the brave men and women in the FBI are doing we just can't get into, but they don't stop. Our cyber threats, ransomware attacks, those harming our children online. We have nearly a 20% increase in indictments and arrests in 7 months alone this year. We're going after those that harm our malware, infrastructure systems, telecom systems, and energy structure. Combating SALT and Vault typhoons are just a little bit of the examples we're doing. Maybe most importantly, under the counterterrorism and domestic terrorism umbrella, are nihilist, violent extremists, and those that label themselves 764, who wish to go online and convince children to maim and mutilate themselves and commit suicide. And we are producing record numbers of arrests under that umbrella organization. We even stopped an individual in the 764 network who wanted to conspire to kill an adolescent girl. He is now in custody. Transparency remains one of my main priorities at the FBI. And this is what I've done in my 7 months at the helm. We've produced more than 33,000 pages of documents to Congress, to a variety of committees, including, I believe, 7,500 to this committee alone, if memory serves me correct. To put the 33,000 in perspective, my predecessor in 7 years produced 13,000 pages in total to the United States Congress. His predecessor in 4 years produced 3,000 pages in total. I repeat, I have produced 33,000 pages in 7 years to this Congress and will continue to do so. I'm dedicated to restoring the trust and the mission and the integrity of the FBI, and we cannot do so without congressional oversight, and I promise you I will continue to do so. On the Epstein case, the original sin on the Epstein case was how it was handled by Mr. Acosta when he first brought the case in 2006, 7, and 8. The original case had a very limited search warrant, had a very limited search window, had a very limited investigative window. I was not there when those search warrants and that investigation was launched. I would not have done it that way. They were limited to only 3 to 4 years of investigations from 97 to approximately 2001 and 2002 to 2005. Mr. Acosta allowed Mr. Epstein to enter into a plea agreement where he served weekend jails for trafficking minor women. He also was allowed to relieve jail to go home on the weekends. Plus, he allowed a non-prosecution agreement to be signed as part of that plea deal, prohibiting future investigations from that prosecution and from that evidence, and prohibiting the collection of further material. That is the original sin. We are working with Congress to produce more than any administration ever has material on Epstein. And I welcome the challenge to tell us that we are not being as transparent as the law allows. We even went to court and asked the judges to lift those prosecutorial agreements and to lift those court order seals, and they denied us 3 times. Congress is welcome to do the same and join the fight. And I'd lastly like to focus on operation that the president led in DC. Because of this, we are taking this fight in D.C. to every single city across the country. 2,100 arrests in the last month alone. D.C. has seen a 60% decrease in gun crimes, 75% decrease in carjackings, and 53% decrease in homicides in our nation's capital, and rightly so. We're bringing that fight to the streets of America. I want to thank you for your support, and I'm proud to be the director that leads this FBI into a new headquarters building that they've needed for decades, saving the taxpayer $3.5 billion, and also providing our workforce a safe environment. If you don't know the calamity that is the Hoover Building, I invite each and every one of you to walk around. I'll give you a tour myself, and you can see where the cement falls on the heads of our employees that is only to be saved by netting, just to give you an example. Thank you for support to our mission. And I do want to highlight one thing about DC. It's because the FBI gathered sources and evidence that we were able to, through our source network, identify the horrific murder of the DC intern, Eric Tarpinian. And I've spoken to his family, and we are working to bring them justice. And Mr. Chairman, in my 16 years, now my 17 years of government service, if anyone has any questions about my service, bring it on.
Yeah. Thank you, Director. We will now proceed under the 5-minute rule. The chair recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Ison.
Director, delighted to have you here. You are a breath of fresh air. As you outlined, and I won't repeat it, the accomplishments, you did so with the same resources as your predecessor, roughly. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
And so how much of that has to do with taking people out of the backside of the FBI and moving them into the field, into doing the job for which we primarily pay the FBI?
It's exactly what we needed done. 1/3 of the FBI's workforce resided in the National Capital Region before I got there. 1/3 of the crimes do not happen in Washington, D.C.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. So 1,000 personnel of the FBI were deployed across this country on a permanent basis, and every single state in this union is getting a plus up, not a reduction, a plus up of 1811s of intel analysts and support staff. And that is why the crime rates are going down in record numbers.
Thank you for doing that, and it's perhaps the hardest thing for a bureaucrat to do is to lower the head count around them that support them, and I appreciate your willingness to do it different than your predecessor. A lot of what you covered earlier was the find, the discovery, and then the prosecution that is done by the DOJ. But I want to talk a little bit about the prevent side.
On the Charlie assassination, sir?
No, on all of these. Okay, for example, and I'll bring it up before the Democrats bring it up, January 6th. January 6th, we now know, because of your find, that in fact there were people involved who were not just observers but participants who in fact, it's been alleged, and I personally believe, in fact were part of promoting, perhaps even the one woman who died, encouraging her to walk through a door that led to her death. When you see that kind of activity and you know it was done under predecessors with full knowledge, whether it's January 6th, where embedded people crossed the line, or any other activity, including obviously the Russian hoax that we're now dealing with up in, front and center. My question to you is, what can you or others do to prevent it from occurring again? Not on your watch, but on future watches. How can we know that this won't happen again the moment you leave the FBI?
It's simple. What I'm doing through our leadership cadre is having FBI agents do what they were trained to do, not what they were not trained to do, not put them in situations that both harm them and the public. We're also utilizing our SORT networks and prioritizing the threat structure to go after the narco traffickers, the counterterrorism people, the counterintelligence threats, and the cyber threats. That's what they were trained to do, and that's what we're letting them do.
One major question I have, after decades of doing this, on our side of it, both the chairman, myself, and others, both at oversight and here, have seen that the FBI and the Department of Justice hide behind non-statutory practices. Now, you've changed the interpretation of many of those practices. That's why we're getting the discovery that was previously withheld. How do we work together to make sure that we never again have false walls, non-statutory walls that say the Department of Justice has a prohibition about giving, quote, you fill in the blank, that has led to the chairman not seeing anything until you took over?
I'm wedded to aggressive constitutional oversight. Having been a House congressional staffer, I know that is an important part of securing our democracy. And the way we make it an everlasting, enduring process is by showing the American people the results of what we are doing and the important work of this committee and putting it out to them so they can see government waste, fraud, and abuse. And then they can demand from our constituents and our electors that they want this process to continue.
Last major question here. Some things are so sensitive that we both would agree they cannot be made public. Will you commit to this committee when it is too sensitive to disclose that you would at least make it available for in-camera review by the chairman and ranking members or others designated?
I have done that and I will continue to do that.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a breath of fresh air. This is the beginning of what we need. But my questions today for the director are ones in which I believe that we do need to codify by agreement or by statute if necessary, the kind of openness and transparency that we're seeing from this administration, the kind of discovery that's allowing us to do our oversight properly. And I would hope that that be the follow-up to this, obviously along with the Attorney General. And I yield back my 4 seconds.
Thank you. The gentleman yields back. The gentleman from New York is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Director Patel. In the wake of the tragic murder of Charlie Kirk, Donald Trump said, quote, "Violence and murder are the tragic consequences of demonizing those with whom you disagree, day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible," close quote. I would note for the record that Donald Trump has famously demonized practically every person he has ever disagreed with, and therefore, using his own logic, he has put their lives at risk. I should know Donald Trump continuously puts my life in danger. About 2 weeks ago, when I announced my decision not to seek re-election, many people on both sides of the aisle, including the chairman, offered me well wishes and thanked me for my service. Donald Trump, on the other hand, took to Truth Social to call me a, quote, "psychopathic nut job," among other things. Yesterday, I received a threatening note filled with anti-Semitic comments and hateful attacks that mimic some of the same language used by the president. I am sure many of us on this committee face similar threats every day. We have seen political assaults on both the left and the right. The attack on Charlie Kirk, the attempted assassination of the president, the murder of the Democratic Speaker of the Minnesota House, the assault on Paul Pelosi, and the attack on the Capitol on January 6th, for example. Director Patel, do you agree that there is political violence from both the left and the right?
There is too much political violence.
Do you agree, yes or no, that there's violence?
There is too much political violence based on ideologies from either side.
From either side, okay. Are you aware of the study by the Cato Institute, a well-known conservative group, that found that 69% of the violence is from the right?
I'm not familiar with that study.
You're not familiar, okay. I would commend it to you. Are you aware the administration has threatened to use violence as an excuse to crack down on liberty and freedom of speech?
Say that again, I'm sorry?
Are you aware the administration has threatened to use violence as an excuse to crack down on liberty and freedom of speech?
Nobody at the FBI is doing that.
I didn't ask you about the FBI, I said the administration.
I speak for the FBI.
I would like to enter the record an article from today's New York Times titled, "Trump Invokes Kirk's Killing in Justifying Measures to Silence Opponents." In the wake of Charlie Kirk's killing, President Trump and his allies have laid out a broad plan to target liberal groups, monitor speech, revoke visas, and designate certain groups as domestic terrorists. I ask unanimous consent to insert this into the record. Thank you. Politicizing the murder of Charlie King to go after free speech is not a legacy I believe Charlie King would have wanted. Moving on, I want to address another topic. The FBI has traditionally played a key role in prosecuting public officials for corruption. But I fear that at a time when the president is accepting planes from Qatar for his post-presidential personal use, issuing pardons to major donors, and personally profiting from the office of the presidency, the FBI may be abandoning its commitment to investigating public corruption. Since its creation in the wake of the Watergate scandal, the Public Integrity Section has been one of the crown jewels of the Department of Justice, investigating and prosecuting corruption among the nation's public officials and acting as a key safeguard against politicized prosecutions. This section's work has been supported by an elite squad in the FBI devoted specifically to rooting out corruption. But according to reports, the public integrity section has now been decimated, and the FBI's public corruption squad has been disbanded. I would like to submit for the record a New York Times article entitled, "FBI Dismantles Elite Public Corruption Squad." I ask unanimous consent. Thank you. These actions are an invitation to corrupt politicians to break the law, since they know that the government is asleep at the switch. Last month, Senator Warren and I, along with dozens of other members of Congress, wrote to you and Attorney General Bondi expressing grave concern over your decision to effectively legalize corruption and to politicize prosecutorial decisions. And he asks unanimous consent to enter this letter into the record. Thank you. I don't have time today to walk through all your questions, all of our questions and concerns, but will you commit to answering this letter in short order so that we can understand what factors led to this decision and how it has impacted the ability to hold corrupt officials accountable?
I will review your letter with my team and respond as soon as I can.
You will respond. Thank you. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Arizona is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Director, for being here. I appreciate the change in the FBI and the tone since you've been there. We heard the ranking member, however, describe the FBI under your leadership as being resorting to political enforcement and you personally as being paranoid. I would just suggest that perhaps that is the projections of the ranking member himself and not you, sir. I want to refer to something that was said yesterday in yesterday's hearing by Senator Grassley. He said, "It's well understood that your predecessor left you an FBI infected with politics." At your nomination hearing, he gave you records, made public records about whistleblowers regarding something called Arctic Frost. Arctic Frost was the FBI case opened and approved by anti-Trump FBI agent Thibault, and Arctic Frost became Jack Smith's elector case. The new records show that Arctic Frost was much broader than just an electoral matter. In fact, it was expanded to Republican organizations. Some examples of the groups that the Ray FBI sought to place under political investigation included the Republican National Committee, Republican Attorneys General's Association, and Trump political groups. In total, 92 Republican targets, including Republican groups, Republican-linked individuals, were placed under the investigative scope of Arctic Frost. On that political list for investigation was one of Charlie Kirk's groups, Turning Point USA. In other words, Arctic Frost wasn't just a case to politically investigate Trump. It was the vehicle by which partisan FBI agents and DOJ prosecutors could achieve their partisan ends and improperly investigate the entire Republican political apparatus. I'd ask that, Mr. Chairman, that document be administered.
Without objection.
So, I know that this may be under current investigation, but I wish to ask specific questions about this for just a moment. What search tools were used in Arctic Frost to view private communications of targets?
I believe the traditional search tools, search warrants, lawful service of process, and the tools that the FBI has in our infrastructure systems, cybersecurity systems, and counterintelligence systems. But generally speaking, if I may, I want to use this to highlight the fact that I'm continuing my promise to work with Congress to produce documents simultaneously and also conduct ongoing investigations. I'm giving you as much as I can, and I'll give you more when I can.
Thank you. Another question regarding that is, were there any directives from the Biden White House concerning the Arctic Frost investigation?
Were there any,
directives or communications from the Biden White House itself concerning the Arctic Frost investigation?
I'll just rely on what was turned over to date, sir.
Okay. So I want to add here, the search warrants that were used included the seizing of a U.S. member of Congress, his phone. I think we all know who that was and how that was taken away and used for political purposes, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Director. So we'll leave that for a second, and let's go over to the Charlie Kirk case for just a second. Let's emphasize this. How many hours did it take from the assassination to the arrest of the assassin, Mr. Director?
33.
That seems pretty swift, and it was because of the actual release of videos and photographs that you directed to be released, sir.
That's correct. And to put it in perspective, the Boston bomber took 5 days and Luigi Mangione took 5 days.
Was the platform Discord forthright from the start with law enforcement about the shooter's communications on its platform?
Discord, the platform ownership, has been working with our lawful process, and we are obtaining materials from them on a rolling basis.
Thank you. And I want to get back here to Arctic Frost for just a second, Mr. Chairman. I'd like the unclassified document from the FBI released to be admitted to the record.
No objection.
And a document from the Economic Times also to be admitted to the record.
No objection.
So I'm going to give you the last 30 seconds. We could go on about the Epstein case. I've got a bunch about that, but I'm just going to let you, if you wish to respond to either of the two vitriolic questioning or statement from the Democrats.
The work of the FBI speaks for itself. It's on showcase here today. Anyone that wants to attack the FBI can attack me, but leave our leadership structure alone. When you have 23,000 violent felons arrested, twice as many as this time last year, the work speaks for itself.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you. Appreciate your good work, Director Patel. Yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you kindly, Mr. Chairman. Director Patel, before you joined the FBI, you railed against it for covering up Jeffrey Epstein's human trafficking ring. Let me refresh your memory with this clip.
It has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. That doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator. That seems like an evil thing to do, regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list.
So you finished that December 2023 interview with a challenge to the FBI and harsh words for Republicans in Congress for not getting the Epstein files out to the public. You can see this clip.
Boy pants, and let us know who the pedophiles are.
Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are, you said. You emphasized that the president and FBI director each had complete authority to release Epstein's client list. You said Epstein's black book is under the, quote, direct control of the director of the FBI. Look at this clip.
This is way off the topic, but who has Jeffrey Epstein's
Black book?
black book?
FBI.
But who? That is, I mean, there's...
that's under direct control of the director of the FBI.
All right, so you were sworn in as director more than 200 days ago. Now the black book is under your direct control. So why haven't you released the names of Epstein's co-conspirators in the rape and sex trafficking of young women and girls?
The Rolodex, which is what everybody colloquially refers to as the black book, has been released.
Oh, no, you're talking about what the journalist got 5 years ago? No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what you were talking about there,
That's
the black
exactly
book
what
under
I was
the direct
talking.
control of the FBI director.
We have released more material than anyone else before. The Biden administration, Obama administration had the exact opportunities to release this material, and they never did. And if you are telling the men and women of the FBI,
why
we're
have
not
you
going after
changed your
child predators.
position?
Hang on, you said we're not going after child predators. 1,500 child predators arrested this year, 35% increase.
I'll reclaim my time.
4,700 child victims
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to
found.
reclaim my time if you could instruct the witness. Why have you changed your position? There you were saying it's under the direct control of the FBI director and all of it should be released. Why have you changed your
Everything
position?
that has been lawfully permitted to be released has been released. And as I told you,
Really?
the investigation was limited. And let me make something crystal clear. I never said Jeffrey Epstein didn't traffic other people, other women, and they're not other victims. This is the investigation we were given from 2006, 7, and 8, and the search warrants from 2006, 7, and 8. That's what we're working with.
Well, wait, have you released all of the stuff that the FBI has seized from Epstein's house? The computers, the emails, the file cabinets, the documents? What about the financial records? Have you released all of that?
Everything the court has allowed us to
Which
release.
court are you talking about?
3 separate federal courts have come in and said...
We're talking about the evidence you've got. It's got nothing to do with what those courts have.
Do you have any idea how the law works?
Wait.
Do you want me to break the law in a federal judge's order?
No, I want you to
satisfy
follow your own
curiosity?
word, Director Patel. You said up there it was under the direct control of the FBI director. He had the black book.
Everything I have direct control over, we have gone to court. You haven't.
Complete your sentence. Everything you have direct control over, you said.
Have gone to court, and everything we have direct
Director
control
Patel,
over.
complete your
and
sentence.
can
You said
lawfully
everything.
release. We're releasing.
He'd like to complete his answer.
You began the sentence, everything you have direct control over, and then you stopped that sentence. You've released everything that you have direct control over?
And I have direct control over and can lawfully release. If you're not familiar with the court orders, that's not my fault.
Oh, I'm
Go
perfectly,
look at them.
I'm perfectly familiar
court.
with them. But how did we prosecute Ghislaine Maxwell?
She was prosecuted with the investigatory material that was collected from 2001 and 2005 because of the non-prosecution agreements and the court orders on the investigations and search warrants. We were not able to develop new information. And oh, by the way, Jeffrey Epstein was out for 12 years and the Obama and Biden administration did nothing to look at his work, his pedophile network. If you want to blame me, that's fine. But now you're blaming the men and women who conducted this great search.
Stop that. I'm not blaming anybody other than you. You're not keeping your word. You said that you would release all of the materials under your direct control.
Has anyone released more information on Epstein than I have? Has anyone?
Much
did
more.
Did Comey? Did Ray?
Much
did
more.
They?
Excuse me. Much more has come out in the days since the American people in Congress have been demanding it, but it's coming out in dribs and drabs. Why don't you just release the entire file as you promised to do?
I literally just told you, there are multiple federal court orders. I'm not going to break the law to satisfy your curiosity. You didn't join us when we filed court to release the court orders. You could have. You have lawyers. You could have shown up. You didn't do that.
That's a tiny fraction of the material we're talking about.
That is not.
It is a tiny fraction.
How do you know that? Have you seen everything?
It's all misdirection.
How do you know
Time of the gentleman has expired. The gentleman from California is recognized.
Well, thank you, Mr. Director. Just to be clear, how many of the Epstein files were released in the 4 years of the Biden administration?
0.
And how many have you released?
I don't have the number, but it's got to be thousands of pages of stuff.
I was going to ask you to begin whether Americans are safer today than they were 9 months ago, but you cited dramatic increases in criminal arrests since you've taken office, a dramatic decrease in crime that's resulted. Who would have thought that taking criminals off the streets would reduce the crime rate? But somehow we have stumbled upon that new truth. But it begs the question, what was the FBI doing during the 4 years of the Biden administration to see that dramatic an increase in work under your tenure?
The simple answer is I'm letting good cops be cops. We're working with our state and local law enforcement. We're energizing our partnerships. We're bringing on more task force officers. When you have more cops in the streets, when you're using ground-based intelligence, when you're not weaponizing law enforcement and focusing on DC and focusing on the rest of America, this is what happens. It is not a significant mind shift in terms of how we maneuver the FBI. They've wanted to do this work since they signed up. We're just letting them.
And we've seen many prominent Democrats oppose your efforts to restore law and order to the streets of our nation's capital. I mean, all of us here have seen a dramatic change for the better here in Washington, D.C. Why are so many Democrats attacking you for that?
Sir, Democrats have been attacking me for a decade, as is the fake news media. They didn't like the fact that I exposed the Russiagate host and the largest weaponization of the FBI and DOJ in U.S. history. We proved it to be true with congressional oversight. I'm wed to that congressional oversight and will continue to do that work.
Christopher Wray repeatedly warned this committee that the Biden open borders policy had produced a significant increase in terrorist threats that he said kept him up at night. A particular concern, he said, was the 2 million gotaways that entered the country during the Biden administration. That's an average of 41,000 every month. What are the monthly gotaway numbers today?
Sir, I'll have to get back to you on the exact gotaway numbers, but identifying that there are gotaways is step one. Going and manhunting them is step two, and that's what we're committing our resources to do.
Well, that's my next question, is what progress has the administration made in apprehending and removing terrorist threats that came in during the Biden years?
I think you're talking about, if you're not, let me know, known or suspected terrorists, and we've encountered almost zero at the southern border since the southern border has been sealed. But the problem that we are running into is our northern border. It's largely expansive. The enemy has adapted, and we need more focus on the northern border to stop known or suspected terrorists from coming in from places like China, Russia, the Middle East, Africa, Afghanistan.
And what can you tell us about the remaining threat posed by potential terrorist cells here in the United States?
The terrorist threat that continues to be posed by international terrorists here in the United States is one of my highest priorities. We are working through our intelligence community partners to identify those individuals, and we've taken down numerous individuals in numerous rings across this country to neutralize that terrorist threat, including in places like New York City, Los Angeles, and I believe Dallas, Texas most recently.
How extensively did criminal cartels like Sinaloa, Jalisco, New Generation, MS-13, Trinidad and others infiltrate our country during the Biden administration?
By the tens of thousands.
Well, and what progress have you been making in combating their presence?
I think the DHS is best to speak to that, but I think I can't remember the numbers of tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of individuals they found that came in illegally, and the tens of thousands that associations to criminal networks have all been deported.
And that effort is being opposed every step of the way by Democratic leaders in our cities, some of our states, and right here in the Congress. Isn't that true?
Well, we're just working where we can in every single city we can, and I welcome the opportunity to partner with Republicans or Democrats on fighting violent crime like we're doing.
Mr. Biggs asked about Arctic frost. What else can you tell us about that and what we need to do to assure that it never happens again?
Continue the congressional oversight work that you're doing on Arctic frost. Let me provide you with more documentation on Arctic frost, and also call in witnesses from the paperwork that we have given you. You have that right, and the American public deserves to hear what those people have to say. As for my ongoing investigation, there's not much I can say.
What role did the FBI play in suppressing the Hunter Biden laptop story during the 2024 election?
Off the top of my memory, sir, I believe the FBI was in possession of verified information from that laptop, and it was improperly publicized that they did not have information and masked it as Russian disinformation. We now know that was categorically false. I don't know why the FBI did that, when they did that, but we've released all the materials related to that.
Thank you.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from New York is recognized. Mr. Goldman.
Mr. Patel, does Donald Trump appear anywhere in the Epstein files?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
It's not a complicated question. Does Donald Trump appear anywhere in the Epstein files?
I didn't say it was a complicated question. I just didn't hear you, so my apologies. We have released where President Trump's name's in the Epstein files, and everybody else, and all credible information that we are legally allowed to release has been released.
All right, so let's go through that. You're referring to court orders that prohibit you from releasing grand jury testimony under Rule 6E. Is that what you're referring to when you say as the law allows?
That's a piece of it.
Really? What other evidence do those three court orders you cited prohibit from being released?
Information that was collected pursuant to those search warrants that were limited in fashion.
Wrong. That's not what the court order says, and that's not under 6E.
And you're talking, and I said that's 6E, and I said there was others, and I'm answering that. There are sealed court order documents. There are protective orders.
They are unsealed as part of discovery given to Ghislaine Maxwell. They are no longer sealed.
That's just not true. We can argue about it all you want.
Okay, well, you agree that there are, so your testimony here is that the reason why you are not releasing all of the videos that you have acknowledged, there are so many, and that the FBI spent thousands of hours of reviewing, the photographs, and the photographs that you have. You're saying that you're not releasing those because there's a court order requiring them to be sealed? Is that your testimony?
Never said that about the videos. On the totality of the videos, of the thousands of images that were seized pursuant to the search warrants executed at the time, the overwhelming majority of that video is pornographic material that was downloaded from the internet and child sexual abuse material. We will never release that.
Well, as you should not release the victims, but if there are videos that relate to others who Epstein trafficked to, such as maybe Prince Andrew, or photographs, that you have total control to release.
Yes, and if it exists.
And so why haven't you released it?
Why are you supposing that that is a fact when in fact it is false? Are you saying that?
You're saying that none of the videos relate to anything relevant to the Jeffrey Epstein trafficking ring?
Every single video that we have collected pursuant to the prior search warrants has been examined for the last 10 years. And every single video has been utilized for whatever prosecutions were able to be legally brought.
I'm not asking about prosecutions. I'm asking about why you aren't releasing the full Epstein files, including the names of people who were involved in the sex ring, that you promised to do before you became FBI director?
I just told you, I'm not going to release downloaded porn of
I'm not
children on
asking
the
about
internet.
that. Fine. I'm asking about all the other files.
What other videos? Tell me. Tell me.
That's what I'm asking.
Tell me.
You're saying there are no videos that would be relevant to anyone else involved in the Jeffrey Epstein sex ring?
Pursuant to Mr. Acosta's collection of information based on the search warrants. That's all we have in our
I
possession.
understand. And I'm asking you, that stuff.
That's all we got.
I'm not asking all you got. I'm asking you, in that stuff, there's nothing that's related to any other sex traffic, any other people engaged with Epstein in underage sex.
That's correct. To my knowledge, no.
Okay. Let's talk about the witness interviews. 302s of witness interviews. Those are not subject to the court order. Those are not subject to any fictional sealed order for a search warrant. Why aren't you releasing those with the redacted names of the victims?
We are releasing as much as legally allowed. That's why we went back to
how
the
is that?
courts.
How is that not legally allowed?
Sir, do you know how court orders work? Do you know how protective orders
Actually,
work? Do you know how
Mr.
sealing
Patel,
orders
I was
work?
a real prosecutor for 10 years. I know exactly how.
So I was a
court
fake
orders.
one?
And I want to understand what the court order prevents you from releasing witness statements that the FBI took.
You should know that as a real prosecutor, when the court hand downs a protective order and a motion to seal, the material is sealed unless that
Your
judge
testimony
waives
here
it.
is that all of those witness statements are under a court order, a protective order.
We are providing everything we can legally provide.
No, that's not my question. My question is, why are those witness statements that are not grand jury testimony, that if they were under a protective order are no longer under a protective order, why are they not being released?
How are they not under a protective
Why
order?
are you not going to the court like you did for the grand jury testimony to unseal those records?
The DOJ did go to the court.
No, not on those records. Why aren't you going? You just went on grand jury.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
You are hiding the Epstein files, Mr. Patel.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
You are part of the cover-up.
Can I respond?
Sure can.
Any allegations that I'm a part of a cover-up to protect child sexual trafficking and victims of human trafficking and sexual crimes is patently and categorically false in the work of my
So I hope you will talk to them when they have requested to speak with you. Because the victims have requested and you are not responding to them.
Director, yes or no, is the FBI still spying on parents at school board meetings?
No, sir.
Is the FBI still targeting Catholics?
No, sir.
Is the FBI still spying on President Trump?
I don't believe so.
Is the FBI still censoring Americans?
No, sir.
Is the FBI still targeting Americans for shopping at Cabela's or purchasing Bibles?
Nobody is targeted for their faith.
Is the FBI still targeting Americans who are pro-life?
Nobody is targeting anyone for their beliefs.
Is the FBI still cooking the books on crime data?
The crime data is real.
Is the FBI still purging agents for conservative viewpoints?
No one at the FBI has asked their viewpoints on policy.
Is the FBI still labeling the Betsy Ross flag, the flag of the American Revolution, a hate symbol?
No.
Well, maybe that's why you've been able to, what was the number? 23,000 bad guys you've arrested, a huge increase from the same time period in the previous administration. I think you said 1,400 predators, 4,000 children rescued. Were those the facts?
4,700, 35% increase on children rescued.
Yeah. And you got the guy to Abbey Gate?
We got the Abbey Gate guy.
We had a guy from the 4th District of Ohio who lost his life there serving our country. We appreciate that. Maybe when you're not focused on politics, you can actually do what the FBI is supposed to do. Go get the bad guys, right?
That's what the men and women of the FBI do.
Director, did John Brennan lie to Congress? Let me just read a couple things actually before you answer that. 2 years ago, we had Mr. Brennan in for an interview, and I asked him, how'd you learn about the dossier in December of 2016? Mr. Brennan replied, I received a copy of it from the FBI, and the CIA was very much opposed to having any reference or inclusion of the Steele dossier in the intelligence community assessment. That's what John Brennan told the United States Congress. 7 weeks ago, the Director of National Intelligence told us this. John Brennan lied and denied using the dossier in the intelligence community assessment because he knew it was discredited. CIA officer told the House Intelligence Committee, Brennan refused to remove it, and when confronted with the dossier's main flaws, he responded, "Yes, but doesn't it ring true?" John Brennan lied to us?
Mr. Chairman, I won't stylize the evidence. What I will say is that the intelligence community assessment, those that created it and any individual involved with it, is an ongoing investigation.
There's an investigation into what took place in December and January of December 2016, January 2017, when this whole thing started, this grand conspiracy. That is being investigated, is that right?
That has been publicly announced by the department.
That's been announced by the department. Did Chris Wray hide documents from this committee?
You would know better than me, sir.
Well, I think you told us like 700 pieces of information you've given this committee since you've been director relative to just one incident, the Catholic memorandum from the Richmond field office.
I can give you the comparison, sir. Yeah, the Catholic memo, I believe we turned over 750 documents. In Mr. Ray's tenure, I believe they turned over 19 pages.
19 pages. You've given us 700. Why would Chris Wray hide information from this committee?
You'd have
Want to
to
hazard a guess?
I'm sorry?
Hazard a guess why he would do that?
I don't know, sir.
I think maybe it was because FBI was spying on a priest, trying to get him to break the priest penitent confidence that exists. You think maybe that was the reason?
You'd have to ask him, sir.
Yeah, we'd love to do that. I want to read a few names here. Arctic Haze, Tropic Vortex, Riding Hood, Foggy Falls, Echoes Fate, Sirens Lure, Genetic Christmas. What are these code names about, Director? You know?
Not off the top of my head.
Well, Arctic Haze, Tropic Vortex. My understanding, these are code names for leak investigations of classified information from the year 2017. Does that ring a bell?
In terms of leak investigations, many of those are classified and many of those are ongoing, Mr. Chairman. But we are working with you to produce documents as we close those investigations or as we declassify them.
Let me ask you this question, because this is something I've wondered about, the way the FBI used to work. This whole thing so many of these things unfolded. Seems to me you had all these people in government leaking information that then gets reported in the press, there's a story written about it, and then that article is then used to further the investigation and move forward with what they want to do. Did that take place back in 16 and 17?
That's the exact scenario that took place in the FISA application for Carter Page and the rest of the Trump campaign.
And that is frightening, because that's what the CIA is supposed to do in foreign countries. It's not supposed to happen to Americans. But it did, didn't it, Director?
Yes.
And not just any Americans, it happened with the President of the United States. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and you were the key guy in helping expose that. And I think our country will be forever grateful for what you did to let the country know that was going on involving Americans, which is not supposed to happen, and not just, again, any American, but the President of the United States. Chair now recognizes the gentlelady from California.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm concerned by reports that FBI agents have been diverted from their important work on crime and anti-terrorism to work on matters that are not critical to our safety. I'd like to play the video, the whole video.
Jeffrey
clip.
Epstein's
Black Book?
Black Book.
FBI.
But who? That is, I mean, there's...
Oh, that's under direct control of the director of the FBI.
But the Black Book, it's not just sitting, I mean, that's Hoover power times 10.
And to me, that's a thing I think President Trump should run on. On day one, roll out the Black Book.
In contrast to that attitude of let it all out, we're getting reports of actions that run contrary to getting everything out, and that also involve diversions of FBI resources. For example, an FBI whistleblower reported that you were pressured by the Attorney General to place 1,000 personnel on 24-hour shifts to mine roughly 100,000 Epstein-related records to redact President Trump's name from the files. Bloomberg reported this, that you directed FBI special agents from the New York and Washington field offices to join the Bureau's FOIA employees in Winchester and another building a few miles away, and that while reviewing the Epstein files, FBI personnel identified numerous references to Trump in the documents, and people familiar with the matter said that Trump's name, along with other high-profile individuals, was blacked out. Now, the New York Times reports, and this is a quote, Justice Department officials diverted hundreds of FBI employees and federal prosecutors from their regular duties to go through the documents at least 4 times, including once to flag any references to Mr. Trump and other prominent figures. Details of the review were based on accounts by 3 former FBI and Justice Department officials who spoke on condition of anonymity because of fears of retaliation, and further that the FBI finished after they finished its review of the files and materials was sent to a team of Justice Department lawyers who double-checked the FBI's redactions and, quote, were instructed to flag any mentions of Mr. Trump and other celebrities. Now, I have 3 questions for you, Mr. Patel, about this. First, how many times did President Trump's name appear in the Epstein files? Was it more than 100, more than 1,000? Were the agents who were pulled from their duties to redact the president's name from the Epstein files working on criminal cases or national security cases or child sex trafficking cases? And are the number of agents that have been reported diverted for these purposes, is that accurate?
No.
No what?
You asked if it was accurate. I said it wasn't.
So you're saying that none of this happened?
No, I'm saying it was inaccurate.
Okay. How many times did President Trump appear in the Epstein files? More than 100? More than 1,000?
No, and what we've been able to release is what we've been legally able to release, and that has
No, that's not the question. I asked you, how many times did the president's name appear?
I don't know.
It's your testimony. You do not know that answer.
The number of times? No.
Could you tell us how many agents were diverted for this task and what they were working on?
When you say diverted, you make it seem as if agents were pulled off what they do all the time. Agents at the FBI masterfully do double duty and triple duty. And because of the public's interest in this case, we flex resources to make sure that we could answer the public's signal demand. So do you want us to look through the material and provide it to you, or you do not want us to do that?
So it's your testimony that no one was diverted from a criminal matter, that this was a top priority to go through this material to look for Mr. Trump's name. Is that your testimony? That's the highest priority for the FBI?
What's one of the most impressive things about the FBI leadership and the careers that are in place is that they make the decisions on who to send where on priorities and make sure the mission needs are not hurt. And that's what happened here. It's
shocking to me that the FBI would think that erasing Mr. Trump's name from the Epstein files is a high priority when we have crime, we have national security threats, we have terrorism threats, we have murders such as that occurred, unfortunately, with Mr. Kirk. It's shocking to hear that that's your highest priority. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield
literally
back.
not what I said.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
Director, is President Trump implicated in any wrongdoing related to Jeffrey Epstein?
Based on the entirety of the evidence that we have, absolutely not.
The president is not implicated?
Correct.
Thank you. I want to talk a little bit about China's malign influence here in America. And, we've seen spy balloons traverse the United States. We've seen police stations in communities around America. And sitting in the chair you're in just 2 years ago, there was a sheriff from Cochise County, Arizona, Mark Daniels, that was here, who said that the exponential increase in the amount of fentanyl that is coming into America is directly related to the open borders policies of the previous administration. Do you agree with Sheriff Daniels' characterization?
In large part, yes.
So since you've been director, has there been a reduction with, we've talked about how the border is largely secure now, right?
The southern border, yes, sir.
The southern border is largely secure. Has there been a concomitant reduction or a reduction in the amount of fentanyl that is coming into America?
There has been a massive reduction to the tune of, we have seized more than 25% year to date this year than the prior year, and that's enough fentanyl to kill 120 million Americans.
Does China play a role in this fentanyl that's coming to America?
As I stated in my opening, sir, what they do and the companies in China, mainland China do, is produce the precursors and the cutting agents that they ship overseas through various countries into the Mexican drug cartels who produce it. So they basically are the cooks in terms of the ingredients.
Tell us, what is the FBI doing to stop China from delivering death to America?
So for the first time in a decade, I actually reached out to my counterpart at the Ministry of Public Security. No one at the FBI had done so. To engage.
Ministry of Security, where's that?
In mainland China.
In mainland China, okay, thank you.
To engage in a conversation to say, hey, can we have a certain number of these precursor chemicals listed in China so that they become illegal and illegal to trade. We're also working with our counterparts in places like India and Guatemala because the transshipment routes of the precursors, the Mexican drug cartels have gotten creative, and instead of coming directly to America are going into these countries. And we've had massive success in India and Guatemala, and in those governments, great partnerships in shutting down the ability to ship the precursors into those countries, which are ultimately destined to America.
So those people that are working with security agencies have been working with you, is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
So I want to turn to a couple cases that are at the University of Michigan, where Chinese nationals on behalf.
That was live from Capitol Hill of FBI Director Kash Patel facing questions from lawmakers. He faced multiple questions and touched on multiple topics such as arrest of criminals across the United States, political violence, and Epstein files. Now we're heading back to UK, where President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump are now watching the Beating Retreat musical performance. Take a look.
go.
That was live from Windsor Castle, UK, where President Trump and First Lady Melania was welcomed there with a royal welcome. And this is his second time visiting in the second term. We'll tune back into the hearing where FBI Director Kash Patel is answering questions from House lawmakers.
The instructions from the administration were to release all credible information, and we have done that.
Did Donald Trump ever provide information about Jeffrey Epstein as an informant?
Donald Trump has not been, and I can only speak for the FBI, an informant of the FBI.
So, Director, you've played this cute shell game where you say you can't release everything because the court has said that it legally is not allowed to be released, but the court calls bullshit. Judge Richard Berman said that when you went to the court, quote, information contained in the Epstein grand jury transcripts pales in comparison to Epstein investigation information and materials in the hands of the Department of Justice. So let's move on, Director. You wrote a book called Government Gangsters. You identified 20 individuals in that book. You put me on that list at the top of the list. Thank you. My children find it flattering. 20 of those individuals have been investigated or have had adverse actions. Director, considering that you have identified these people as, quote, government gangsters, will you recuse yourself from making any investigation decisions about these individuals?
Anyone that has been terminated at the FBI has been done so
the
because
question
they failed
again,
to meet the muster in their constitutional obligation.
I will work on the audio-visual capabilities.
I'm going to borrow your terminology and call bullshit on your entire career in Congress.
I'm reclaiming my time,
It's been a
Director.
disgrace to the American
Director, I'm
people.
reclaiming my time.
You can reclaim your time all you want.
Mr. Chairman, you're going to allow a witness to speak this way? Mr. Chairman, would you give...
Recuse yourself, Director.
The gentleman has no time.
Mr. Chairman, would you admonish the witness not to insult members?
Gentleman has no time.
Mr. Chairman, just
committee will remember.
Quick point of order. Could the gentleman be extended an additional 20 seconds to complete his thoughts since the witness decided to interrupt him continuously?
And the witness will be able to respond if he wants. We'll make sure he has time to do that.
My question is, will you, Director, recuse yourself, yes or no, from investigating or making decisions about the 60 individuals, including myself, that you identified as government gangsters? Yes or no?
Time of the gentleman has expired. The witness may respond if he would like.
And the answer was no, as I heard.
Correct.
Okay. The gentleman from Wisconsin, the gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Director Patel, for being here today. I wanted to talk a little bit about the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the FBI's subsequent investigation. I know it's really sensitive, and you can make the call as to whether or not, obviously, it's something that you can respond to, but I think it's still fresh on many people's minds. I want to congratulate you and Utah law enforcement for the work you did in identifying the suspect and apprehending him. According to public reports, and I think this is what maybe it's, I still have questions about, and maybe the public does. According to public reports, the alleged shooter arrives on the Utah Valley University campus nearly 4 hours before the shooting. Was that your understanding? Is that kind of...
I'll let the public reports reflect themselves. I don't have the exact timeline.
Okay. So we don't have any idea kind of his prep or how he set up or how he utilized that time when he first showed up on campus?
All of those are being currently investigated through our cell phone analysis and through our witness interviews. And the state of Utah has now announced charges seeking the death penalty against this suspect. So we're a little limited in what we can continue to say.
Sure, I understand. And that suspect, like you referred to, is then captured on security footage jumping off the roof of the alleged shooting location, the Losey Center. do we have any idea how the suspect got up on the roof in the first place? I think for members of Congress, especially after Butler and Pennsylvania, it's just unimaginable that there could be some type of security breakdown prior to an event of that size where somebody could access a rooftop.
So not commenting on the case, but having gone to the crime scene and walked the steps that we believe were taken, the roof was actually readily accessible through an exterior stairwell, so anyone could have gotten on it.
Okay. The suspect flees on foot to kind of this wooded area where he drops the rifle, wraps it in a towel, and then proceeds to his staged vehicle and basically drives home. So do we have any idea what the towel was about? Was it used later to identify a place where the firearm was left, or?
What we can tell you is the towel, there was a screwdriver found on the rooftop, which DNA was collected off of, and the towel was found wrapped around the firearm in question in a wooded area next to the campus. All have been processed.
Suggesting the towel may have been used to identify that weapon's location. So the public reports have suggested that the shooter acted alone. Do we still believe that that's true? Do we have any idea as to whether or not those Discord messages led us to believe that the shooter may have had help in any way or assistance?
I can only speak to the FBI's investigation, and our investigation is ongoing, and we are interviewing any of those individuals involved in that chat and other individuals in the area.
Very good. And so my suggestion, if there are accomplices, I'm sure this is something that the FBI is going to continue to investigate fully and thoroughly into the future.
Yes, sir.
The reason I ask that is because I don't know that that was necessarily the case with Butler, Pennsylvania. So thank you so much for your persistence kind of in this matter. There's still a lot of public questions that need to be asked. Let me shift to another topic very quickly. On July 31st, 2025, the DOJ and the CIA declassified the annex to Special Counsel John Durham's 2023 report on Operation Crossfire Hurricane. The 29-page Durham Annex contains previously classified information about, among other things, the investigative referral of the Clinton campaign plan. Why would somebody place documents in a burn bag related to this case?
That case is very much ongoing, so I can't comment on the stylization of the evidence we're collecting.
Can you comment at all on the Durham Annex as I described it?
The Durham Annex, which has been publicly released thanks to the FBI's commitment to transparency, is one of the documents that's being utilized. And in general terms, speaking for burn bags, sir, a burn bag is what you use to put classified documents into generally, because that is literally how you destroy them.
So it appears that efforts were made by the Clinton campaign to reach out to the FBI agents or the Clinton sympathizers in the intelligence community in order to lead more credibility to the Clinton campaign plan. Do you think that's an accurate characterization?
Again, I'm not going to characterize that material because it's part of an ongoing investigation.
Thanks for being here today. I yield back.
Gentleman from Virginia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank the Director for being here and for his work over the last several months, removing the taint of partisanship that has infected the intelligence community over the past several years under the last administration, under the last several directors, standing up for law enforcement, standing up for the brave men and women who work in your agency. But to set the record straight, we have to correct the record. And the record, early days of the first Trump administration saw a dramatic spike in news stories that contained sensitive and sometimes classified details about the FBI's bogus Russia probe, about a leak a day. It's unacceptable that senior FBI officials coordinated to leak classified information to try and harm President Trump. Documents produced to the committee in August of this year revealed that the FBI interviewed a former intelligence committee staffer who gave details on a systematic process through which leaks of classified information were affected by then Chairman, now Senator Adam Schiff. Were these findings escalated within the Bureau's chain of command, and if so, to what level?
Sorry, were the findings escalated?
Were these findings that were given to us escalated within the Bureau's chain of command, and if so, what level? Did you receive this information?
That entire matter is currently under investigation by the people at the FBI that handle leaks of classified information.
All right, it's good to know that there is an ongoing investigation. Can you tell me whether these leaks to the media compromised any ongoing FBI investigations during the Trump-Russia probe?
I can tell you, generally speaking, the leaks of classified information are detrimental to any work the FBI is doing.
Now, former Director James Comey testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee that he had never been an anonymous source, nor authorized anyone to be an anonymous source in news reports about matters relating to the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation. Was Comey's testimony true?
In reference to Director Comey, I'm very limited in what I can say because of what the current status of those matters are with the FBI and the Department of Justice. When I am able to make those public, I will.
Can you tell me if there's an ongoing investigation there?
Again, without identifying any individuals related to the information you're generally speaking about, there is an ongoing matter that has been under review by the Department and the FBI for some time.
Because we know that the documents that we received last month revealed that former Director Comey used Columbia University law professor as a conduit to leak stories to the media that contained classified information. Let me move on to the way that the FISA process was weaponized by past directors. Prior to your confirmation, you raised concerns about government misuse of FISA, including Section 702, stating that FISA was in need of major reform. Specifically, you highlighted that the Fisk report that the FBI had conducted 278,000 improper searches of the FISA database. Do you remain concerned about governmental abuse of FISA in Section 702?
I'm always concerned, but what we've done since I became FBI director is implement new audit systems. We are nearing 100% review of the 702 query system that you are specifically referring to, and we've also eliminated anyone that has ever touched that database that has in any way made a mistake, whether intentional or not, and we have also identified a system in which those going forward who misuse the 702 system, they don't get 2 strikes. They get 1 and you're done.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned you're continuing to audit because, as you know, in May, the New York Times reported you closed the FBI's Office of Internal Auditing. Can you explain why you decided to close this office?
Yeah, because under the new restructuring of the FBI, to save resources, there were 2 different places doing the exact same thing. We have a specific division dedicated to audits. I didn't need another audit system doing the audits again. And so we folded some of those folks with their expertise into our specific division and then took the rest of those folks and are moving them out across the country.
Under previous FBI leadership, FBI agents were found to have lied to the Fisk. There have been hundreds of thousands of violations of the querying standards. In light of past violations, what action is the FBI taking to ensure that similar abuses do not occur in the future?
Exactly what I've outlined. You cannot have access to the 702 query system if you improperly queried that system at all at any time in your career.
Okay, at a Senate hearing 2 years ago, your predecessor, Director Wray, testified FBI had previously purchased U.S. phone geolocation data for a specific national security pilot project and further stated that the project had not been active for some time and that the FBI relies on court-authorized process to obtain location data from companies. Does the FBI purchase location data or any other data of Americans from data brokers?
I don't believe so, but I'll get back to you.
Thank you, that'd be important. I appreciate that. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Washington's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Patel, before you joined the FBI, you had very strong opinions about what the FBI was hiding regarding Jeffrey Epstein. In a September 2023 interview with Glenn Beck, you said the Black Book is under the, quote, direct control of the director of the FBI. In December 2023, you said, let us know who the pedophiles are.
You're watching FBI Director Kash Patel answering questions from House lawmakers, questions ranging from the Epstein investigation to the Charlie Kirk assassination. Since the top of the hour, regarding Epstein, Patel has said that the Epstein estate has no obligation to provide information even under subpoena, and that was challenged by the House lawmaker questioning him on former FBI Director James Comey. He said it's an ongoing matter within the FBI, so he can't comment more on that now. And on the FBI purchase of location data of Americans, Patel said he doesn't think that's happening. There were many other topics covered. That's all for now on that. Next, officials in Utah are seeking the death penalty against Charlie Kirk's suspected assassin. That's as new details emerge in the case, with prosecutors saying more DNA at the crime scene links to the suspect, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson. Our correspondent Jack Bradley has more from the courthouse.
22-year-old Tyler Robinson is facing 7 charges in relation to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Those charges include aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury, 2 counts of obstruction of justice, 2 counts of witness tampering, and committing the crime in front of children, some younger than 14 years old. Robinson made his first court appearance on Tuesday wearing a jacket that prevents suicide. The Utah County Attorney is seeking the death penalty.
The defendant is believed to have targeted Charlie Kirk based on Charlie Kirk's political expression and did so knowing that children were present and would witness the homicide. I am filing a notice of intent to seek the death penalty. I do not take this decision lightly, and it is a decision I have made independently.
Aggravated murder is the only offense which could lead to the capital punishment here in the state of Utah, and if convicted, the death penalty. It's being charged as aggravated murder because the assassination of Kirk took place in front of thousands, potentially causing death to others. According to prosecutors, DNA evidence linked to Robinson was found on the rifle.
DNA consistent with Robinson was found on the rifle's trigger. After shooting Mr. Kirk, Robinson hid the gun, discarded the clothing he wore when he fired the rifle, and told his roommate to delete incriminating text messages and not talk to police. Children were present at the time of the shooting.
Additionally, there are allegations of text messages between Robinson and his transgender roommate boyfriend in which he appears to confess to the crime of killing Charlie Kirk, and that he later allegedly told his roommate to delete those messages and not to talk to police.
To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you. Roommate, you weren't the one who did it, right? Robinson, I'm sorry. Roommate, why? Robinson, why did I do it? Roommate, yeah. Robinson, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence.
Investigators also found at Robinson's house bullet shell casings with etchings on them similar to the etchings found on the shells with the rifle at the crime scene. Further messages reveal that Robinson was allegedly planning the assassination for a week. Prosecutors also say that Robinson implied to his parents that he killed Kirk and that he wanted to kill himself afterwards, but that his parents and a family friend talked him into turning himself in. The next hearing is set for September 29th, and that's when Robinson will appear with a lawyer assigned to him by the county. He's going to be held at Utah County Jail until the conclusion of his case. Reporting from Provo, Utah, Jack Bradley, NTD News.
And next, young people gathering in Texas this weekend for an annual series of seminars, discussions, and networking based around Judeo-Christian principles and more. We're joined now by the founder of Texas Youth Summit, Christian Collins. Christian, thank you so much for joining us today. The 2025 summit is set for September 19th to 20th in the Woodlands there in Texas, just shortly after Charlie Kirk's tragic killing. How are you adapting the event this year to honor his memory?
Well, first, I just want to express that we're praying for Erica and Charlie's family and the Turning Point USA family. We know that they're suffering. We're all suffering. I know that it's devastated all of us at the Texas Youth Summit because Charlie Kirk has spoken many times at our conference, and he's been a friend to our organization. And getting to know him has been very special. And I can say that Friday night, we're going to pay tribute to Charlie Kirk. We're going to have a worship service, and we're going to have some great speakers. Turning Point USA contributor Alex Clark, Allie Beth Stuckey, Senator Ted Cruz. I'm going to be giving a message about how we can pick up Charlie's mic and keep fighting the good fight. And we've got to make sure that young people will keep fighting for our country. And we do so as happy warriors, as Ronald Reagan referred to. That's what Charlie Kirk was. He was somebody who listened before he talked. He was very respectful, and he brought civil discourse to the public square. And we want to equip young people to have those right values so that they are leaders in our country. And maybe not everyone runs for office or becomes someone as big as Charlie Kirk, but you can affect your neighbor. You can affect your school classmates. You can affect people at your job or your church. You can affect people if you have the right values and you know why you believe what you believe. And you need to know this, especially before you go off to college, because Charlie Kirk's assassin was radically indoctrinated in these leftist schools. I've been blessed to teach at a school, but I understand the vast majority of these colleges are run by leftists. And there's some good liberals, but there are a lot of leftists in our public universities, and our tax dollars are paying for that. And they're making these types of assassins who go out and do this, who will not be able to have any civic discourse. They're horrible in how they approach this, and we're just devastated by the loss of Charlie Kirk.
Certainly echoing this sentiment that is felt across the world, really. But what do you see as the biggest challenge in motivating Gen Z and young conservatives to get involved in politics and faith today?
Well, I think young people really want to make a difference. And before we had this situation happen, which is unthinkable, I think I would say that young people really want to find purpose and meaning. They really care about having the right values and making their lives count. But I think Charlie Kirk's assassination has really struck a nerve with Gen Z especially, and we have almost doubled our conference from last year. We're approaching, looks like it'll be 3,000 people at the conference, and we're just grateful for the outpouring of support. And we're going to have a lot of great speakers the next day: Attorney General Ken Paxton, Governor Greg Abbott, we have Yamini Park, we have Chloe Cole, we have Congressman Wesley Hunt. We have a lot of good speakers who are going to be educating these young people with the right values. And I feel now that our work is more important than ever. And we're just grateful to have Turning Point USA as an official sponsor of this event. And we're going to keep fighting the good fight, because we know that's what Charlie would want us to do.
Yeah, Christian, tickets for people aged 10 to 26 for this event this weekend are just $1. How many really young people do you get, and what kind of interactions do you see them having with the speakers? As you mentioned, many of them are high profile.
The majority of the people there will be young people of age, and anybody can attend this conference. We make it accessible to anybody. But a lot of parents want to be there with their kids, especially, and young people are there because they're excited about our country. And what we want to educate them with is the right values, as mentioned, but also we want to connect them with a lot of different nonprofits and organizations. Our sponsors include Turning Point, as I mentioned, Live Action. There's a lot of groups there, Leadership Institute, that are doing great work around the country to educate them with the right values. So we equip them and then send them out with these groups, and they get involved into activism, and that's a great thing. We've also had at least one marriage come from this event, and we want to do as Charlie Kirk said and make sure that young people get married, because having a family and getting married, and that's something that can really change your life, and that's a formula for conservative values. Also, the thing that Charlie Kirk loved the most was faith. He said in an interview that if you wanted to be remembered for anything, it was his faith. And we want to make sure that young people are getting back in church and loving God. And we understand that this is truly the way to change people's lives. We don't just want a political awakening in this country. I do believe the Republicans will win the midterms now. I'd rather have Charlie Kirk here than win the midterms, but that probably will be a consequence. But more than just a political awakening, we want a spiritual awakening in our country. A spiritual renewal and revival of young people in our country who are fired up for God and fired up for our country. And that's what we're seeing here at the Texas Youth Summit.
Yeah, Charlie's legacy felt right here in your passion, in your work with this Texas Youth Summit, and also across the nation. Thank you so much for your time today, Christian Collins, and best wishes for the event.
Thank you so much. They can go to texasyouthsummit.com/events to check it out. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. The assassination of Charlie Kirk has created a surge in interest in the conservative organization he founded, Turning Point USA. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on that, and a major memorial service at a football stadium where President Trump will speak.
Turning Point USA was founded by Charlie Kirk in 2012. Its aim is to identify, educate, train, and organize students to promote the principles of freedom, free markets, and limited government. The organization says requests to start new chapters have spiked in the aftermath of Kirk's assassination. It received more than 54,000 requests from high school and college students nationwide to start a new chapter or get involved with an existing chapter in the last 6 days. It also sold over 520,000 items of merchandise. Meanwhile, a memorial service will be held for Kirk at State Farm Stadium in Arizona on Sunday. President Trump and Vice President Vance will speak at the event.
It's been a horrible tragedy, but we're going to have to do something about that. We can't let that happen. So I'll be going to the service on Sunday.
Other top Trump administration officials will also make appearances, including National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard, HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Charlie Kirk's widow Erica Kirk, Tucker Carlson, and the president's son Donald Trump Jr. will also speak at the memorial. Entry is on a first-come, first-served basis. The dress code is Sunday best, red, white, or blue. And New College of Florida will erect a statue of Charlie Kirk on campus. The school's chief social media officer told a local ABC affiliate he knew Kirk personally, and his assassination was one of the most significant moments of his life.
Charlie Kirk represented something that New College represents in the sense of free speech, civil discourse, and people were saying this might be something we should do, and New College went ahead and did it.
Kirk's death was a global event. Supporters around the world have gathered to pay tribute to the Turning Point USA founder, from Sydney to London, Berlin to Jerusalem. In Argentina, President Javier Milei urged people to stay vigilant, saying, "Those of us who serve the noble and just cause of the freedom of our nations are only mere instruments to make it possible. For every one of us who falls, new voices will arise to take our place." The Taiwanese Minister of Foreign Affairs called Kirk's passing a loss for democracy, adding that Kirk publicly expressed support for Taiwan. Czech Prime Minister Petr Fiala decried the murder, calling it a heinous crime. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban said the world lost a true defender of faith and freedom. In Brazil, federal lawmaker Nicolas Ferreira said they want to silence us but have awakened us. From each tear, courage is born. From each injustice, resistance is born. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
And next, we are turning to President Trump and the First Lady visiting St. George's Chapel during their UK state visit. They joined a wreath-laying ceremony at the tomb of Queen Elizabeth II. Let's take a look. See the president there at St. George's Chapel, and beside him King Charles and Queen Camilla. And to Camilla's left we see First Lady Melania Trump, all dressed in black right there at the tomb of Queen Elizabeth II, having just visited and paid respect. That was earlier today, but now they're actually looking at the royal collection. And you can see some of those beautiful ceramics and porcelain in the background. Military members to the left. And all a reminder of the grand ceremony that was on display this morning to welcome the president to the UK. And we're watching Marco Rubio there with the royal family, Prince and Princess there, looking at the royal collection. And that's just on the heels of the president and his delegation visiting St. George's Chapel, paying respects to the late Queen Elizabeth II. And now you see Charles and Camilla there as well. Next, a Texas State University student who mocked the death of Charlie Kirk is no longer at that university. The student's action was caught on camera and even drew criticism from the state's governor. This video shows the student slapping his neck and climbing the base of a statue and reenacting the moment Kirk got shot. The conservative speaker died after being shot in the neck last week during an event at Utah Valley University. Texas Governor Greg Abbott responded to the video on Twitter, calling for the student to be expelled. During an event yesterday, the governor had this to say.
We see students who are celebrating an assassination. That goes beyond the bounds of what is humane, goes beyond the limits of what is humanity, and it must end. And we as a society, we as a state, must send a signal that behavior like that, celebrating an assassination, is wrong in a civil society.
Hours after Abbott's message yesterday, the president of the university issued a statement saying that young student is no longer a student at Texas State University. It's not clear whether the student was expelled or if he voluntarily withdrew. The school's president says federal law prevents the school from commenting on matters of individual students' conduct. FBI Director Kash Patel says the investigation into Charlie Kirk's assassination has expanded. He says more than 20 people tied to the suspect's online chats are now under review. Patel told senators yesterday those individuals were connected to a Discord chat room used by the suspect, Tyler Robinson. Investigators are also examining a rifle and ammunition engraved with anti-fascist messaging recovered after the campus shooting in Utah. Authorities say Robinson has not been cooperating. Friends and family of Robinson told officials his politics had shifted left in recent years and that he spent time in what they called dark corners online. And the Tucker Carlson network has raised over $5 million for Charlie Kirk's family. That's as Americans across the country continue donating money following Kirk's assassination. Neil Patel announced on X that the network had reached the $5 million mark. His bio says he's the co-founder and CEO of the Tucker Carlson network. He posted that over 44,000 people donated, including celebrities such as Kid Rock. Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica, will now have to raise their 2 children on her own. Patel says the goal of the fundraiser is to make sure that she at least does not have to worry about finances. Fox News reports that almost $3 million has also been collected on the Give, Send, Go platform. And GoFundMe told the outlet that multiple fundraisers have also been started on its website. FBI Director Kash Patel recapping what his department has done in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination. We have a clip from his oversight hearing before the House Judiciary Committee today.
Charlie Kirk was unfortunately assassinated on September 10th. We immediately, the next day, released images early in the day in local time in Utah to start the public partnership in our manhunt for the assassin and culprits. At approximately 5 p.m. local time, I arrived on the ground and walked the crime scene myself. And we flew multiple FBI assets in and out to process DNA simultaneously while bringing in evidence response technicians, hostage rescue teams, and other experts to assist state and local law enforcement with their investigation. At 8 p.m. local on September 11th, the FBI collected and populated and promulgated at a press conference a video of the suspect on the grounds. We also released enhanced images. Due to that release that I directed and ordered, the suspect involved was apprehended and in custody at 10 p.m. local time. That's less than 2 hours after we did the video release and the photo release.
Lawmakers questioned Patel on the Charlie Kirk assassination on January 6th, on his firings within the FBI, and also his loyalty to President Trump, continuing the Epstein files and more. This is the FBI director's second day of testimony on Capitol Hill after appearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee yesterday. Congressman Jerry Nadler questioned Patel on the prevalence of political violence in America.
Director Patel, do you agree that there is political violence from both the left and the right?
There's too much political violence.
Do you agree, yes or no, that there's violence?
There is too much political violence based on ideologies from either side.
From either side, okay.
The FBI director highlighted what his bureau has done to fight crime under the Trump administration. He says the FBI has arrested more than 23,000 violent criminals, which is twice as many a year to date compared to last year. It took over 6,000 firearms off the streets, identified and found 4,700 child victims, and arrested 1,500 child predators, all at higher rates year to date compared to last year. Patel says the FBI also captured 4 of the top 10 most wanted fugitives in the world in 7 months, as many as during the entirety of the Biden administration, he said. And a driver rammed a car into a security gate today at the FBI building in Pittsburgh. Authorities said the suspect removed an American flag from the back seat and threw it over the gate before leaving. Investigators, including a bomb squad, were at the scene. The FBI said no explosives were found. The assistant special agent in charge of the FBI in Pittsburgh said he had no information on a motive. Authorities said the suspect, identified as former military service member Donald Henson, is in custody. Officials said the car appeared to have some sort of message on one side, but did not elaborate on that. Next, several Democrats join House Republicans to address crime in Washington, D.C. Plus, 2 lawmakers are asking the Treasury to probe a China-based billionaire that they say is sowing political discord in America on behalf of the Chinese regime. And the Fed is widely expected to cut its benchmark interest rate today, marking its first policy easing since December. We have a look at what that means for your wallet after the break.
I am so glad you ladies are here. You each have your own rooms. Thank you. Get settled in. I'll call you for dinner. Adopting teen sisters, it's a lot. Girls, you're gonna be late. You want breakfast? No thanks, we're good. They're always in their own world. How'd you get there? Twice the work. Twice the surprises. Just try it. But if you think of it that way, they're also twice as fulfilling. I think you should ask her yourself.
Is it okay to call you Mom?
Of course you can.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
My 15-year-old son, Ethan, and I had a fun and relaxing morning. We returned home, and Ethan walked to his best friend's house an hour later. I heard the ambulance scream by the street, carrying my beautiful boy. Ethan was shot in the head in his best friend's house with an unsecured gun. He had 0 chance of survival. The father, the gun owner, he stored his 3 guns and bullets in a shoebox.
How do you feel?
That has to be the most horrific experience that a human could ever have.
David, would you give any advice?
First thing you do is not keep your ammunition with your weapons. and that your weapons need to be locked at all times.
Welcome back. Georgia's Brad Raffensperger is running for governor in 2026. The Republican Secretary of State was thrust into the national spotlight after he rejected Donald Trump's challenge to the state's 2020 presidential election results. In today's announcement video, Raffensperger called himself a conservative Republican. The candidate said, quote, "I'm prepared to make the tough decisions. I follow the law and the Constitution, and I'll always do the right thing for Georgia no matter what," close quote. Two other top Republicans are already in the race, Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones and Attorney General Chris Carr. Jones supported Trump's claims that he had won the presidential election in 2020, even though Democrat Joe Biden had been declared the state's winner. Carr sided with Raffensperger in rejecting challenges to the results. On the Democratic side, top candidates include currently former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, State Senator Jason Esteves, and former State Labor Commissioner Michael Thurmond. House lawmakers passed the first of several bills to address crime in Washington, D.C. Republicans say the bills could be used as a blueprint to address crime in other cities and states. NTD congressional correspondent Melina Weiskup has more about the bills.
Two crime-related bills passed the House and are now headed to the Senate for a vote. They aim to overturn Washington, D.C.'s laws addressing youth offenders. The first one aims to lower the age from 16 to 14, in which minors can be charged as adults for certain felonies, like murder. The second one, called the D.C. Crimes Act, aims to charge young adults exactly as adults, redefining the term youth offender from age 24 to age 18. It also aims to provide more transparency into how many young people here in D.C. are actually committing crimes. They're creating a public website to keep track of it. Here's the bill sponsor, Congressman Byron Donalds.
District officials have actively facilitated dysfunction and chaos through their progressive soft on crime policies. Instead of addressing the clear epidemic of youth crime in the city, the D.C. City Council increased the age of youth offenders to individuals 24 years old and younger, meaning fully grown legal adults in the District of Columbia can receive sentences meant for children.
His bill got the support of 30 Democrats, though most Democrats were opposed, saying that bills like this undermines D.C.'s autonomy. Now we'll have to see if that same level of Democrat support makes its way over to the Senate so that these bills actually have a shot at becoming law. In other news, lawmakers from the House Oversight Committee are now asking the Treasury Department to probe a China-based billionaire by the name of Neville Roy Singham. These lawmakers say that he's the main backer behind a Marxist group, Party for Socialism and Liberation, and that he's also played a key role in organizing nationwide protests, including the riots in Los Angeles. This is part of a broader investigation. The chairman of the Oversight Committee, James Comer, is looking into the Chinese Communist Party's attempts to sow discord among Americans. Lawmakers say that Singham is acting on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party to magnify internal disputes. So now they're asking the Treasury Department to formally open an investigation into Singham after he previously ignored the committee's requests. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weiskup, NTD News.
A longtime member of New York's Chinese dissident community has admitted to spying on fellow activists for Beijing. 68-year-old Yuan Jun Tang pleaded guilty yesterday to working with China's intelligence service while publicly presenting himself as a critic of the Chinese Communist Party. Tang was a regular at protests outside China's Manhattan consulate and even founded a pro-democracy group in Queens. But federal prosecutors say behind the scenes, he was gathering information on Chinese American activists, even photographing demonstrations. Authorities believe Tang cooperated with Chinese officials in hopes of being allowed to visit family back home. The FBI called his actions a betrayal of American values and of the very ideals Tang once claimed to champion. Tang previously spent 12 years in a Chinese prison for his role in the Tiananmen student movement, before escaping to Taiwan and then the U.S. Next, if you receive money from the federal government, you've only got a couple of weeks left to make sure you can get it digitally. The Treasury Department plans to stop issuing paper checks for most payments on September 30th. That includes to Social Security beneficiaries. It's part of the Trump administration's efforts to fully modernize federal benefits payments, save money, and fight financial fraud. More than 500,000 Social Security recipients, less than 1%, need to choose another way to receive their Social Security benefits. That can be either direct deposit or through a prepaid debit card known as Direct Express. If you still need to receive a paper check, you can request a waiver. Some exceptions will be made, such as if you are 90 years or older, have a mental impairment, or live in too remote of a location. You can apply for a waiver at the website godirect.gov. Economists and investors broadly predict borrowing money could soon be cheaper. The Federal Open Market Committee is meeting today. It's comprised of Federal Reserve Board governors and certain Fed bank presidents. Today, they're deciding what to do with interest rates. Here's a look at what that means for our wallets.
My expectation is they will vote for a cut.
Analysts expect Federal Reserve decision makers to reduce interest rates today for the first time since December. Most estimate at least a quarter-point drop. That would bring the target federal funds rate to between 4 and 4.25%. Such a cut usually makes it cheaper to borrow money.
They set the price and supply of money. That literally affects how much we pay for our mortgage, our credit card, our auto loan, and it affects really the entire base of business.
Fed decision makers also affect the yield on savings accounts and CDs, and they can influence retirement funds in the stock market.
And President Trump is in the UK today for an unprecedented second state visit to Britain. The president was treated to the best of royal pageantry. He rode with King Charles in a gilded horse-drawn carriage through the vast Windsor estate. A military band played the British and U.S. national anthems, as you just heard, as the carriages crossed the grounds. Trump could be seen chatting with the king as they rode in the carriage together. A guard of honor marched past Trump and King Charles. Officials say the ceremonial welcome in the Castle Quadrangle featured the largest ever guard of honor for a state visit to the UK. King Charles, Queen Camilla, and the Trumps took their places on the dais as the state colors were lowered and the U.S. national anthem played. Trump saluted, and the First Lady placed her hand on her heart. Trump was then escorted by an officer as he walked along a line of soldiers in red tunics and bearskin hats. There was a pause in the ceremonies as the Trumps and members of the royal family had lunch inside Windsor Castle. We'll keep you updated there. President Trump touched down in London yesterday for that state visit. It's his second, and of course that's historic. It came after an invitation from King Charles. The visit is actually to highlight trade, defense, and new nuclear energy deals. But it also raises questions on free speech and tech regulation. So we're going to talk about all of that now with Lee Hall, host of British Thought Leaders. Good to have you with us today, Lee.
Hi, Steph.
And President Trump is the first U.S. leader to receive two state invitations from a British monarch. That is a big deal. But what do you think this says about the current strength of the U.S.-UK relationship?
Yeah, I think that the US-UK relationship is exactly the reason for this unprecedented second visit, and strengthening this relationship is our Prime Minister's top priority, really. That's why he wanted this invite to come out, despite some opposition to it. And the Prime Minister's facing difficult, challenging times here in Britain, showing close ties with the leader of the world's richest nation. The world's most powerful nation will certainly strengthen his position, despite some protests of the visit. Also, President Trump returning to Britain for this visit, despite being in Scotland recently, just shows how much he also values the special relationship.
And how significant is King Charles' personal role in shaping this visit compared to the political leadership of Prime Minister Keir Starmer?
Well, this kind of shows you some of the differences between how England runs and America runs. Although the latter did come from King Charles, there's a very strict separation between the crown and politics. So King Charles actually acts on advice from government ministers. So you have to go back to like the 17th century to find a time when the king refused or ignored the advice from government ministers, it would cause constitutional chaos and a bit of a crisis, really. So although the letter is from the king, it's because the prime minister sees this state visit as vital to national interest, and he asked the king to send the letter.
I see. Now, this phrase, special relationship, has been used for decades to describe the UK-US tie. Do you believe this visit truly renews that bond, or is it more symbolic?
I certainly feel that this visit is renewal of the bond and an ongoing recognition of that bond. I mean, this is a centuries-old relationship between two countries that have a lot in common and a lot of differences as well. So we can see an example of this in the special exhibition that was put on in Windsor Castle's Green Drawing Room today to celebrate the relationship. So Their Majesties the King and Queen, President Trump and First Lady, looking at artifacts, including a book from 1624 about the English colonies in North America. So we're looking at a relationship between these two nations that's over 400 years old. The exhibition went right through to the recent era. There's a photograph of the late Queen Elizabeth II and Ronald Reagan riding horses together. So, I mean, despite many differences, disagreements, I think this special relationship is something to celebrate. I think also it's obvious that President Trump has quite a soft spot for Britain, and many people here do appreciate that.
Now, with tens of billions in investment agreements expected, how might this visit impact Britain's economy, especially in post-Brexit trade?
I mean, the US is Britain's largest single country trading partner, and the tech companies have already invested billions and billions in their UK operations. So Tuesday, we saw this announcement of this massive tech investment, £31 billion, which is $42 billion. Over half of that coming from Microsoft over the next 4 years. And Google, we're in for $5 billion over the next 2 years. We're looking at a UK version of Stargate. That will be in the northeast of England, an area that really needs jobs. So I would agree with OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, who said, this will improve productivity and it will drive economic growth. And even for people who don't agree with this visit, it's hard to argue with something like this, investment at this level, in an economy that really needs it, and a job market that really needs the boost as well.
Yeah, and the US and UK are also announcing cooperation in nuclear energy, and they're wanting to work together, as you sort of pointed to, in science and in tech. How transformative could these partnerships be for Britain's future energy independence and innovation?
Yeah, hopefully very transformative. So the plan is for an agreement to be signed during this visit to accelerate the development of nuclear power. So it's hoped this will unlock billions in private investment on both sides of the Atlantic, really. And some of the plans are quite cutting edge. It'll be a while before you and I, Steph, can heat our homes with power from these nuclear stations. But the key focus of the partnership is to make it quicker and easier to build nuclear power stations. I think in this period of time when energy costs are so high and when demand for energy is so high, we were just talking about all the tech investments, those data centers, they need a lot of electricity. So in this time, it's just brilliant that the deals like this can be going through. And Britain has the highest energy costs in the developed world. So this partnership can make a massive difference here, really.
Certainly hope so. Now, with global conflicts intensifying, do you think defense and NATO cooperation will be a major undercurrent of the discussions, even if less publicized?
Yeah, I think this is exactly the right question to ask. It's hard to imagine this visit taking place without some discussion of Ukraine, NATO, even if it's in private. We saw Ukraine government buildings hit by Russian missile strikes. We saw Russian drones in Polish airspace. In Poland is a NATO member. And we saw Romania also reporting the same thing, drones in their airspace. They're also a NATO member. So these things surely must be discussed. And President Trump said he's ready to put tough sanctions on Russia if the NATO countries stop buying Russian oil. So, yeah, I find it very hard to believe that in some private moments of this visit, this is not going to be on the table.
A potentially quite a profound visit to the UK, it sounds like. Thank you so much for your insights today, Lee Hall. Thank you again.
Thanks, Steph.
If you have any feedback on the show or have something you'd like to see us cover, send us an email at news.today@ntd.com. We'd love to hear from you. We'll cover more news right after this break.
Food. It fuels our bodies, nourishes our spirits, and brings us together. Because we all need nutritious food to thrive.
Food gives me energy and it also helps me focus.
But not everyone knows where their next meal is coming from. And 1 in 7 people in America face hunger. It's tougher than ever for too many of us. But the simple truth is, ending hunger is possible, and it starts with you. Call or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, to help families in your community facing hunger. Feeding America works from coast to coast with partner food banks, food pantries, and meal programs. Your monthly gift delivers food where it's needed most, puts fresh food on the table, and helps kids have healthy meals all year round, even when school is out.
You can see the difference with the kids when they're full. Food is everything.
Please call the number on your screen or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org. Give $19 a month. Your first gift can double an impact. And we'll send you this free canvas grocery bag as a reminder of how you're helping to end hunger for good.
When it comes down to it, it's about taking care of your family first and the loved ones that you need to provide for.
Food donations help me tremendously, and I'm very grateful for the food bank.
I have hope. The simple truth is, ending hunger in America is possible. You can help make it happen. The need is urgent. Call or go online now to helpfeedingamerica.org, and your gift can double in impact.
According to ancient Chinese medicine, purslane is considered a medicinal herb and is used to help lower cholesterol, improve vascular functions, and prevent diabetes. Perilla seeds can nourish the lungs and spleen. It is used to treat asthma and improve pulmonary functions. Puritang green vegetable omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds from Hwangmae Mountain in South Korea. It contains over 90% of omega-3, 6, 7, and 9, the highest concentration possible without chemical additives. The soft gel is made of natural seaweed. It is 100% organic and vegan. Both adults and children can take it with peace of mind. Ancient recipes were passed down from heaven to bring prosperity and longevity. Puritang green vegetable omega-3.
There are real consequences to controlled media. And NTD's founders know them firsthand. Our freedom of thought is the price. This is the lesson that guides us in everything we do.
So there's the tear gas there.
We know the value of a free society. And we take seriously the responsibility to preserve it. We are NTD.
What's happened to this world we're living in? Why?
For the 4 years he has been on this earth, he has known nothing but war.
Wherever I go, the things I see, I just want to turn away. dreams I have, the stories I could tell, will they still be possible? This year, more than ever, I need a brand new world, a clean world. Where I can improve myself and be inspired. My stage can be anywhere and everywhere, but it begins here.
Ganjing World, a brighter way of life.
Welcome to NTD News Today. Here are today's top stories. King Charles greets President Trump for an unprecedented day of pomp and pageantry at Windsor Castle for the president's second state visit to Britain. The ceremonial welcome follows growing trade ties and multi-billion-dollar tech deals. FBI Director Kash Patel in heated exchanges with lawmakers. Hear him recap the efforts that led to the arrest of Charlie Kirk's suspected shooter. A driver crashed his vehicle into a security gate at the FBI's Pittsburgh field. The suspect is in custody. The Fed is widely expected to cut its benchmark interest rate today, marking its first policy easing since December. We have a look at what that means for your wallet.
This is NTD News Today, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Today is Wednesday, September 17th. I'm Victoria White. President Trump is in the UK today for an unprecedented second state visit to Britain. The president was treated to the best of royal pageantry. He rode with King Charles in a gilded horse-drawn carriage through the vast Windsor estate. A military band played the British and US national anthems as the carriages crossed the grounds. Trump could be seen chatting with the king as they rode in the carriage together. A guard of honor marched past Trump and King Charles. Officials say the ceremonial welcome in the castle quadrangle featured the largest ever guard of honor for a state visit to the UK. King Charles, Queen Camilla and the Trumps took their places on the dais as the state colours were lowered and the US national anthem played. Trump saluted and the First Lady placed her hand on her heart. Trump was then escorted by an officer as he walked along a line of soldiers in red tunics and bearskin hats. There was a pause in the ceremonies as the Trumps and members of the royal family had lunch inside Windsor Castle. FBI Director Kash Patel recapping what his department has done in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination. We have a clip from his oversight hearing before the House Judiciary Committee today.
Charlie Kirk was unfortunately assassinated on September 10th. We immediately, the next day, released images early in the day in local time in Utah to start the public partnership in our manhunt for the assassin and culprits. At approximately 5 p.m. local time, I arrived on the ground and walked the crime scene myself. And we flew multiple FBI assets in and out to process DNA simultaneously while bringing in evidence response technicians, hostage rescue teams, and other experts to assist state and local law enforcement with their investigation. At 8 p.m. local on September 11th, the FBI collected and populated and promulgated at a press conference a video of the suspect on the grounds. We also released enhanced images. Due to that release that I directed and ordered, the suspect involved was apprehended and in custody at 10 p.m. local time. That's less than 2 hours after we did the video release and the photo release.
Lawmakers questioned Patel on the Charlie Kirk assassination, January 6th, his firings within the FBI, his loyalty to President Trump, the Epstein files, and more. This is the FBI director's second day of testimony on Capitol Hill after appearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee yesterday. Congressman Jerry Nadler questioned Patel on the prevalence of political violence in America.
Director Patel, do you agree that there is political violence from both the left and the right?
There's too much political violence.
Do you agree, yes or no, that there's violence?
There is too much political violence based on ideologies from either side.
From either side, okay.
The FBI director highlighted what his bureau has done to fight crime under the Trump administration. He says the FBI has arrested more than 23,000 violent criminals, which is twice as many a year to date compared to last year. It took over 6,000 firearms off the streets, identified and found 4,700 child victims, and arrested 1,500 child predators, all at higher rates year to date compared to last year. Patel says the FBI also captured 4 of the top 10 most wanted fugitives in the world in 7 months, as many as during the entirety of the Biden administration. Officials in Utah are seeking the death penalty against Charlie Kirk's suspected assassin. That's as new details emerge in the case, with prosecutors saying more DNA at the crime scene links to the suspect, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson. Our correspondent Jack Bradley has more from the courthouse in Utah.
22-year-old Tyler Robinson is facing 7 charges in relation to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Those charges include aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury, 2 counts of obstruction of justice, 2 counts of witness tampering, and committing the crime in front of children, some younger than 14 years old. Robinson made his first court appearance on Tuesday wearing a jacket that prevents suicide. The Utah County Attorney is seeking the death penalty.
The defendant is believed to have targeted Charlie Kirk based on Charlie Kirk's political expression and did so knowing that children were present and would witness the homicide. I am filing a notice of intent to seek the death penalty. I do not take this decision lightly, and it is a decision I have made independently.
Aggravated murder is the only offense which could lead to the capital punishment here in the state of Utah, and if convicted, the death penalty. It's being charged as aggravated murder because the assassination of Kirk took place in front of thousands, potentially causing death to others. According to prosecutors, DNA evidence linked to Robinson was found on the rifle.
DNA consistent with Robinson was found on the rifle's trigger. After shooting Mr. Kirk, Robinson hid the gun, discarded the clothing he wore when he fired the rifle, and told his roommate to delete incriminating text messages and not talk to police. Children were present at the time of the shooting.
Additionally, there are allegations of text messages between Robinson and his transgender roommate boyfriend in which he appears to confess to the crime of killing Charlie Kirk, and that he later allegedly told his roommate to delete those messages and not to talk to police.
To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you. Roommate, you weren't the one who did it, right? Robinson, I am. I'm sorry. Roommate, why? Robinson, why did I do it? Roommate, yeah. Robinson, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence.
Investigators also found at Robinson's house bullet shell casings with etchings on them similar to the etchings found on the shells with the rifle at the crime scene. Further messages reveal that Robinson was allegedly planning the assassination for a week. Prosecutors also say that Robinson implied to his parents that he killed Kirk and that he wanted to kill himself afterwards, but that his parents and a family friend talked him into turning himself in. The next hearing is set for September 29th, and that's when Robinson will appear with a lawyer assigned to him by the county. He's going to be held at Utah County Jail until the conclusion of his case. Reporting from Provo, Utah, Jack Bradley, NTD News.
A Texas State University student who mocked the death of Charlie Kirk is no longer at the university. The student's action was caught on camera and even drew criticism from the state's governor. This video shows the student slapping his neck, then climbing the base of a statue and reenacting the moment Kirk was shot. The Conservative speaker died after being shot in the neck last week during an event at Utah Valley University. Texas Governor Greg Abbott responded to the video on Twitter, calling for the student to be expelled. During an event yesterday, the governor had this to say.
We see students who are celebrating an assassination. That goes beyond the bounds of what is humane, goes beyond the limits of what is humanity, and it must end. And we as a society, we as a state, must send a signal that behavior like that, celebrating an assassination, is wrong in a civil society.
Hours after Abbott's message yesterday, the president of the university issued a statement saying he is no longer a student at Texas State University. It's not clear whether the student was expelled or if he voluntarily withdrew. The school's president says federal law prevents the school from commenting on matters of individual students' conduct. FBI Director Kash Patel says the investigation into Charlie Kirk's assassination has expanded. He says more than 20 people tied to the suspect's online chats are under review. Patel told senators yesterday those individuals were connected to a Discord chat room used by the suspect, Tyler Robinson. Investigators are also examining a rifle and ammunition engraved with anti-fascist messaging recovered after the campus shooting in Utah. Authorities say Robinson has not been cooperating. Friends and family told officials his politics had shifted left in recent years and that he spent time in what they called dark corners online. Authorities say a man who falsely claimed responsibility for shooting Charlie Kirk has now been charged with obstruction of justice and child exploitation crimes. Investigators say George Sin shouted that he was the gunman as police moved in, later admitting that he lied to help the real suspect escape. After obtaining a search warrant, officers say they found more than 20 sexual images of children on his phone. Officials say there's no evidence Zinn was connected to the suspect, Tyler Robinson. A driver rammed a car into a security gate today at the FBI building in Pittsburgh. Authorities said the suspect removed an American flag from the back seat and threw it over the gate before leaving. Investigators, including a bomb squad, were at the scene. The FBI said no explosives were found. The assistant special agent in charge of the FBI in Pittsburgh said he had no information on a motive. Authorities said the suspect, identified as former military service member Donald Henson, is in custody. Officials said the car appeared to have some sort of message on one of the side windows, but did not elaborate. The Trump administration says it will appeal a ruling that blocks the president from firing Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. A D.C. Circuit panel voted 2-1 to keep Cook in office while her lawsuit over the firing continues. Trump had removed Cook in August, citing alleged mortgage fraud tied to properties she bought before joining the Fed. Cook denies the allegations, and her attorneys argue she was entitled to respond before being terminated. The appeals court said Cook's due process claim is very likely meritorious and that the district court was correct to block her removal. Cook joined the Fed board in 2022 and was reappointed the following year. Her current term runs through 2038. If you receive money from the federal government, you've only got a couple of weeks left to make sure you can get it digitally. The Treasury Department plans to stop issuing paper checks for most payments on September 30th. That includes to Social Security beneficiaries. It's part of the Trump administration's effort to fully modernize federal benefits payments, save money and fight financial fraud. More than 500,000 Social Security recipients, less than 1%, need to choose another way to receive their Social Security benefits. That can be either direct deposit or through a prepaid debit card known as Direct Express. If you still need to receive a paper check, you can request a waiver. Some exceptions will be made, such as if you're 90 or older, have a mental impairment, or live in too remote of a location. You can apply for a waiver at the website godirect.gov. Economists and investors broadly predict borrowing money could soon be cheaper. The Federal Open Market Committee is meeting today. It's comprised of Federal Reserve Board governors and certain Fed bank presidents. Today, they're deciding what to do with interest rates. Here's a look at what that means for our wallets.
My expectation is they will vote for a cut.
Analysts expect Federal Reserve decision makers to reduce interest rates today for the first time since December. Most estimate at least a quarter-point drop. That would bring the target federal funds rate to between 4 and 4.25%. Such a cut usually makes it cheaper to borrow money.
They set the price and supply of money. That literally affects how much we pay for our mortgage, our credit card, our auto loan, and it affects really the entire base of business.
Fed decision makers also affect the yield on savings accounts and CDs, and they can influence retirement funds in the stock market.
Several Democrats join House Republicans to address crime in Washington, D.C. Plus, 2 lawmakers are asking the Treasury to probe a China-based billionaire they say is sowing political discord in America on behalf of the Chinese regime.
That first time seeing my son, I feel like my life did a 180. I was already trying to change my perspective of life and really just be a father figure that I never had. Being present is the most important part. I'm still growing every day, becoming a better version of myself.
I am so glad you ladies are here. You each have your own rooms. Thank you. Get settled in. I'll call you for dinner. Adopting teen sisters, it's a lot. Girls, you're gonna be late. You want breakfast? No thanks, we're good. They're always in their own world. How'd you get there? Twice the work. Twice the surprises. Just try it. But if you think of it that way, they're also twice as fulfilling. I think you should ask her yourself.
Is it okay to call you Mom?
Of course you can.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear, call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha 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 ha.
See, Smokey thinks I'm funny.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Life's daily battles are not meant to be fought alone.
Cloud, you okay?
Because checking in on a friend can create a safe space. Reach out to a friend about their mental health. Seize the awkward. It's totally worth it.
The assassination of Charlie Kirk has created a surge in interest in the conservative organisation he founded, Turning Point USA. NTD's Daniel Monahan has that and more on that, and a major memorial service at a football stadium where President Trump will speak.
Turning Point USA was founded by Charlie Kirk in 2012. Its aim is to identify, educate, train, and organize students to promote the principles of freedom, free markets, and limited government. The organization says requests to start new chapters have spiked in the aftermath of Kirk's assassination. It received more than 54,000 requests from high school and college students nationwide to start a new chapter or get involved with an existing chapter in the last 6 days. It also sold over 520,000 items of merchandise. Meanwhile, a memorial service will be held for Kirk at State Farm Stadium in Arizona on Sunday. President Trump and Vice President Vance will speak at the event.
It's been a horrible tragedy, but we're going to have to do something about that. We can't let that happen. So I'll be going to the service on Sunday.
Other top Trump administration officials will also make appearances, including National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard, HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Charlie Kirk's widow Erica Kirk, Tucker Carlson, and the president's son Donald Trump Jr. will also speak at the memorial. Entry is on a first-come, first-served basis. The dress code is Sunday best, red, white, or blue. And New College of Florida will erect a statue of Charlie Kirk on campus. The school's chief social media officer told a local ABC affiliate he knew Kirk personally, and his assassination was one of the most significant moments of his life.
Charlie Kirk represented something that New College represents in the sense of free speech, civil discourse, and people were saying this might be something we should do, and New College went ahead and did it.
Kirk's death was a global event. Supporters around the world have gathered to pay tribute to the Turning Point USA founder, from Sydney to London, Berlin to Jerusalem. In Argentina, President Javier Milei urged people to stay vigilant, saying, "Those of us who serve the noble and just cause of the freedom of our nations are only mere instruments to make it possible. For every one of us who falls, new voices will arise to take our place." The Taiwanese Minister of Foreign Affairs called Kirk's passing a loss for democracy, adding that Kirk publicly expressed support for Taiwan. Czech Prime Minister Petr Fiala decried the murder, calling it a heinous crime. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán said the world lost a true defender of faith and freedom. In Brazil, federal lawmaker Nicolas Ferreira said they want to silence us but have awakened us. From each tear, courage is born. From each injustice, resistance is born. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
In the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination, videos of people cheering on his death are inundating social media. How are Americans reacting to the celebration of political violence? NTD's Sam Wang was out on the National Mall in DC to hear from the people.
Vice President J.D. Vance was citing this statistic from YouGov saying that 26% of young liberals today believe that political violence is somewhat justified, and whereas 7% of young conservatives say the same. What are your thoughts on that number?
It doesn't surprise me at all. We're from Seattle. It's very liberal out there, and we get a lot of that sort of rhetoric out there.
I can't believe in the country we're at today that if you speak your mind, they want to shut you up. It's funny that the left and the party of tolerance and et cetera just wants to shut conservative voices down, and it's insane to me.
There's strong forces that are indoctrinating the young people today, and I think the government through Donald Trump, they'll come to find out where the money's coming from and maybe shut some of those places down. You know, First Amendment gives people broad latitude to speak their mind and speak their truth, but I mean, not to do the things that that they do.
What would you guys say to those who are right now celebrating Charlie's passing? What would you say to them?
What's their reason? What's the reason for doing that? I want somebody to explain that to me because I don't understand, and I think most of the country doesn't understand, or most of the world.
First reaction is like, yeah, I want to do something stupid and be violent, but that's not what Charlie would have been all about. That wasn't what he's about.
To the people that are celebrating it is sickening, and I don't really think they even understand the gravity of what they're doing. He was 2 kids' dads, and he was a husband, and I'm sure he's got parents that are around.
We stand here at the Lincoln Memorial. He paid the ultimate price for his beliefs and what he did to shape our nation. And I think what's happened with Charlie Kirk, although he wasn't a political figure, he was very much a figure in the national eye. And that same type of spirit of retaking our freedom and our liberties, I think, is playing out around the country.
The Tucker Carlson network has raised over $5 million for Charlie Kirk's family. That's as Americans across the country continue donating money following Kirk's assassination. Neil Patel announced on X that the network had reached the $5 million mark. His X bio says he's the co-founder and CEO of the Tucker Carlson network. He posted that over 44,000 people donated, including celebrities such as Kid Rock. Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica, will now have to raise their 2 children on her own. Patel says the goal of the fundraiser is to make sure she at least doesn't have to worry about finances. Fox News reports that almost $3 million have also been collected on the Give, Send, Go platform. And GoFundMe told the outlet that multiple fundraisers have also been started on its website. Georgia's Brad Raffensperger is running for governor in 2026. The Republican Secretary of State was thrust into the national spotlight after he rejected Donald Trump's challenge to the state's 2020 presidential election results. In today's announcement video, Raffensperger called himself a conservative Republican. The candidate said, quote, "I'm prepared to make the tough decisions. I follow the law and the Constitution, and I'll always do the right thing for Georgia no matter what." 2 other top Republicans are already in the race, Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones and Attorney General Chris Carr. Jones supported Trump's claims that he had won the presidential election in 2020, even though Democrat Joe Biden had been declared the state's winner. Carr sided with Raffensperger in rejecting challenges to the results. On the Democratic side, top candidates include former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, State Senator Jason Estes, and former State Labor Commissioner Michael Thurmond. House lawmakers passed the first of several bills to address crime in Washington, D.C. Republicans say the bills could be used as a blueprint to address crime in other cities and states. NTD congressional correspondent Melina Wisecup has more about the bills.
2 crime-related bills passed the House and are now headed to the Senate for a vote. They aim to overturn Washington, D.C.'s laws addressing youth offenders. The first one aims to lower the age from 16 to 14, in which minors can be charged as adults for certain felonies, like murder. The second one, called the D.C. Crimes Act, aims to charge young adults exactly as adults, redefining the term youth offender from age 24 to age 18. It also aims to provide more transparency into how many young people here in D.C. are actually committing crimes. They're creating a public website to keep track of it. Here's the bill sponsor, Congressman Byron Donalds.
District officials have actively facilitated dysfunction and chaos through their progressive soft-on-crime policies. Instead of addressing the clear epidemic of youth crime in the city, the D.C. City Council increased the age of youth offenders to individuals 24 years old and younger, meaning fully grown legal adults in the District of Columbia can receive sentences meant for children.
His bill got the support of 30 Democrats, though most Democrats were opposed, saying that bills like this undermines D.C.'s autonomy. Now we'll have to see if that same level of Democrat support makes its way over to the Senate so that these bills actually have a shot at becoming law. In other news, lawmakers from the House Oversight Committee are now asking the Treasury Department to probe a China-based billionaire by the name of Neville Roy Singham. These lawmakers say that he's the main backer behind a Marxist group, Party for Socialism and Liberation, and that he's also played a key role in organizing nationwide protests, including the riots in Los Angeles. This is part of a broader investigation. The chairman of the Oversight Committee, James Comer, is looking into the Chinese Communist Party's attempts to sow discord among Americans. Lawmakers say that Singham is acting on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party to magnify internal disputes. So now they're asking the Treasury Department to formally open an investigation into Singham after he previously ignored the committee's requests. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
A long-term member of New York's Chinese dissident community has admitted to spying on fellow activists for Beijing.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, I have an important message about security. Write down the number on your screen so you can call when I finish. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. This is a lock for your life insurance, a rate lock that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. But be careful. Many policies you see do not have one. But you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. Call this number to learn more. This plan was designed with a rate lock for people on a fixed income who want life insurance that fits their budget and is simple to get. Coverage options start at $9.95 a month, less than 35 cents a day. Act now, and your rate will be locked in for life. It will never increase, guaranteed. This is lifelong coverage that can never be canceled as long as you pay your premiums, guaranteed. And your acceptance is guaranteed, with no health questions. You cannot be turned down because of your health. Call for your information kit and read about this rate lock for yourself. You'll also get a free beneficiary planner. Both are free with no obligation. Don't miss out. Call for information, then decide. Read about the 30-day 100% money-back guarantee. Don't wait. Call this number now.
Call now and you'll also get this free beneficiary planner. Use this valuable guide to record important information and your final wishes, and it's yours free just for calling. So don't wait. Call 1-800-357-4821 for your free information. That's 1-800-357-4821. There's no risk or obligation. That number again is 1-800-357-4821. That's 1-800-357-4821. 1-800-357-4821. Call now.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming. Please call or go online now. With your gift of $19 a month, we'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org.
King Charles and the British royal family greeted President Trump with unprecedented pomp and pageantry for his second British state visit. It's the largest military ceremonial welcome for a state visit in living memory and follows a string of multi-billion-dollar tech deals between the two nations. NTD's international correspondent Malcolm Hudson has more for us from London.
President Trump and First Lady Melania arrived at Windsor Castle for a historic second state visit, where their royal red carpet treatment includes a carriage procession, gun salutes, a military flight past, and a lavish banquet. Trump and Melania were treated to a personal, family-centered greeting with King Charles and the royal family. The unique setting has never been used before for an incoming state visit in modern times. Windsor Castle is the oldest and largest inhabited castle in the world, home to British monarchs for almost 1,000 years. Pomp and pageantry was out in full force, while the Trumps were treated to a carriage procession through the private estate. Some 120 horses and 1,300 members of the British military were involved in the ceremony. The formal welcome in the castle quadrangle features the largest ever guard of honor for this occasion. Other elements of the royal-focused first day include a visit to the tomb of Queen Elizabeth II, lunch with the royal family, a special beating retreat ceremony with a flypast of UK and US F-35 fighter jets and the Red Arrows, and in the evening, a lavish state banquet. Alongside the grand ceremony, Trump's visit features expanding trade ties. Britain and the US have agreed a technology pact to boost ties in AI, quantum computing, and civil nuclear energy. Microsoft said it is planning to invest more than $30 billion in its UK operations and artificial intelligence infrastructure over the next 4 years. It plans to expand UK capital expenditures and bring 23,000 advanced AI chips to the UK. Google said it would make $6.8 billion in new investments into Britain.
There's downside risks that we need to work on together to make sure we mitigate the downside risks. But there's also tremendous opportunity in economic growth, in social services, advancing science, you name it. And that special US-UK technology relationship is not something to be taken lightly.
The US tech company also announced the opening of a new data center close to London, designed to help meet growing demand for its AI-powered services like Google Cloud, Search, Maps, and Workspace. Other firms announcing commitments include Nvidia, CoreWeave, Salesforce, and Amazon Web Services, with investments ranging from hundreds of millions to several $billion. Back in Windsor, the royal town is bustling with people who gathered to show their support for Trump.
America is our special ally. And apart from that, Trump's mom is from here. He's back home. He's not coming on visit, on services. He's back home to his mom's place.
I'm here today to show my support for President Trump, who is up against all odds, but is always battling for the people, trying to clean up the mess that's been created for a long time in the States. He's doing a fabulous job. He's doing what he can internationally, and a lot of people need a lot of help. And I think he's a beaming light that can show people the way.
He's a man of God. He's a beautiful family, beautiful wife. Sovereignty is key for his country. He respects his country. He loves his country, loves his people. And that's something you don't often see, and he's not afraid to say it.
There will be no public-facing elements during Trump's engagements, with security paramount for the 47th US president. Malcolm Hudson, NTD News, London.
The Philippines is accusing China's Coast Guard of unlawful behaviour in the South China Sea. The comments come a day after Chinese vessels fired water cannons at Philippine vessels near the disputed Scarborough Shoal.
Common sense lang naman. It's common sense. They were firing water cannons both from behind and from the front, and they were maneuvering around the vessel. It was inevitable that the vessels would hit each other. But again, it was not intentional. It was actually China's lies, once again hiding their unlawful and bullying activities in the Scarborough Shoal. Coercing, threatening, carrying out unlawful behavior that is pretty much normal for the Chinese government.
A spokesperson for China's Coast Guard said yesterday's encounter involved more than 10 Philippine ships. He accused the vessels of crossing into Chinese waters. The Philippine Coast Guard said it was on a mission to resupply more than 35 Philippine fishing boats at the shore. China claims almost the entire South China Sea is its own. A 2016 international arbitration ruled that claim invalid. Beijing rejected that decision. A setback for China in the Pacific. Australia and Papua New Guinea signing a defence communique today. The agreement says the two would strengthen and expand its defence cooperation.
We made conscious choice that Australia remains our security partner of choice.
We have no choice but to live side by side. We have been living side by side. We'll be here forever.
The two signed the Communique after a plan to sign a defence treaty failed to go through. This treaty is significant because it would have required Australia and Papua New Guinea to commit to each other's defence as allies. Papua New Guinea said it didn't secure enough cabinet members to endorse the treaty. Australia said it would be signed following cabinet processes.
We have been agreed on the words in this treaty. We have not had a new alliance in more than 70 years. This is a very significant agreement.
This comes after Australia failed to secure a security deal with Vanuatu, another country in the Pacific. These countries sit on sea lanes to Australia's northeast, and it's vital to keep them open so the US could come to help Australia in the event of a conflict. China has been making inroads in the region in recent years, and Australia ramped up its diplomatic efforts after Beijing signed a security deal with the Solomon Islands. A longtime member of New York's Chinese dissident community has admitted to spying on fellow activists for Beijing. 68-year-old Yuanyuan Tang pleaded guilty yesterday to working with China's intelligence service while publicly presenting himself as a critic of the Communist Party. Tang was a regular at protests outside China's Manhattan consulate and even founded a pro-democracy group in Queens. But federal prosecutors say behind the scenes he was gathering information on Chinese American activists, even photographing demonstrations. Authorities believed Tang cooperated with Chinese officials in hopes of being allowed to visit family back home. The FBI called his actions a betrayal of American values and of the very ideals Tang once claimed to champion. Tang previously spent 12 years in a Chinese prison for his role in the Tiananmen student movement before escaping to Taiwan and then the US. FBI Director Kash Patel in heated exchanges with lawmakers. Hear him recap the efforts that led to the arrest of Charlie Kirk's suspected shooter.
Is deep-sea fish oil really healthy? Due to pollution in the oceans, most fish contain heavy metal elements and radioactive substances. That's why it's so important to choose a pure source of omega-3. Puritang Green Vegetable Omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds, which are rich in nutrients and minerals. It effectively improves brain power and is beneficial to the heart's health. Puritang Green Vegetable Omega-3. Eat 2 a day and you'll feel brand new.
For 65 years, Mathis Home has been helping you create the room of your dreams at great values. Come celebrate with anniversary savings store-wide. Check out their amazing selection of upholstered beds. Here's a hot buy. This modern queen bed is covered in a soft, luxurious fabric. It's available in 2 colors for just $5.99. There's over 100 bedrooms in stock, so you're sure to find the style just right for you with fast, free delivery. Come celebrate with 65th anniversary savings at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
This land, our America, built on hard work, determination, and grit. Sometimes the days run long, but hope, it never runs out, even when the food does, for America's veterans, working parents, even kids. Because in every corner of every town, even yours, millions of hard-working neighbors are facing a hunger crisis. Many for the very first time. In this land of plenty, affording food shouldn't require second jobs and third shifts or choosing between your groceries and bills. Today, you can help change that. Call or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month, less than 63 cents a day, to help every neighbor get the food they urgently need. Because taking care of each other is what makes America strong. We're Feeding America, not just a name, but an action. working with over 200 local food banks like the ones in your community, and demand is soaring.
You go to the grocery store, you spend $100, and $100 is a new $20 bill.
Even with 2 full-time jobs, it's hard to make ends meet.
These are tough times, but when we stand together, we become the very best of a strong America. Please call or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org. Just $19 a month can feed a family today. And your first gift can double an impact. Plus, we'll send you this free canvas bag as a reminder of the hope you're delivering.
When it comes down to it, it's about taking care of your family first and the loved ones that you need to provide for.
Because you're not just giving food, you're fueling resilience for people across the nation. You're feeding America. Call or go online today to helpfeedingamerica.org, and your gift can double an impact.
FBI Director Kash Patel recapping what his department has done in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination. We have a clip from his oversight hearing before the House Judiciary Committee today.
Charlie Kirk was unfortunately assassinated on September 10th. We immediately, the next day, released images early in the day in local time in Utah to start the public partnership in our manhunt for the assassin and culprits. At approximately 5 p.m. local time, I arrived on the ground and walked the crime scene myself. And we flew multiple FBI assets in and out to process DNA simultaneously while bringing in evidence response technicians, hostage rescue teams, and other experts to assist state and local law enforcement with their investigation. At 8 p.m. local on September 11th, the FBI collected and populated and promulgated at a press conference a video of the suspect on the grounds. We also released enhanced images. Due to that release that I directed and ordered, the suspect involved was apprehended and in custody at 10 p.m. local time. That's less than 2 hours after we did the video release and the photo release.
Lawmakers questioned Patel on the Charlie Kirk assassination, January 6th, his firings within the FBI, his loyalty to President Trump, the Epstein files, and more. This is the FBI director's second day of testimony on Capitol Hill after appearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee yesterday. Congressman Jerry Nadler questioned Patel on the prevalence of political violence in America.
Director Patel, do you agree that there is political violence from both the left and the right?
There's too much political violence.
Do you agree, yes or no, that there's violence?
There is too much political violence based on ideologies from either side.
From either side, okay.
The FBI director highlighted what his bureau has done to fight crime under the Trump administration. He says the FBI has arrested more than 23,000 violent criminals, which is twice as many a year to date compared to last year. It took over 6,000 firearms off the streets, identified and found 4,700 child victims, and arrested 1,500 child predators, all at higher rates year to date compared to last year. Patel says the FBI also captured 4 of the top 10 most wanted fugitives in the world in 7 months, as many as during the entirety of the Biden administration. A Texas State University student who mocked the death of Charlie Kirk is no longer at the university. The student's action was caught on camera and even drew criticism from the state's governor. This video shows the student slapping his neck, then climbing the base of a statue and reenacting the moment Kirk was shot. The conservative speaker died after being shot in the neck last week during an event at Utah Valley University. Texas Governor Greg Abbott responded to the video on Twitter, calling for the student to be expelled. During an event yesterday, the governor had this to say.
We see students who are celebrating an assassination. That goes beyond the bounds of what is humane, goes beyond the limits of what is humanity, and it must end. And we as a society, we as a state, must send a signal that behavior like that, celebrating an assassination, is wrong in a civil society.
Hours after Abbott's message yesterday, the president of the university issued a statement saying he is no longer a student at Texas State University. It's not clear whether the student was expelled or if he voluntarily withdrew. The school's president says federal law prevents the school from commenting on matters of individual students' conduct. FBI Director Kash Patel says the investigation into Charlie Kirk's assassination has expanded. He says more than 20 people tied to the suspect's online chats are under review. Patel told senators yesterday those individuals were connected to a Discord chat room used by the suspect Tyler Robinson. Investigators are also examining a rifle and ammunition engraved with anti-fascist messaging recovered after the campus shooting in Utah. Authorities say Robinson has not been cooperating. Friends and family told officials his politics had shifted left in recent years and that he spent time in what they called dark corners online. Vice President J.D. Vance delivers remarks on President Trump's tax cuts for working families and businesses. Let's tune in now.
On the campaign trail, but you all were always kind and friendly and good to me. We love you too. Thank you, sir. It's good to see you again, man. I'm not going to do that here. Somebody yelled out OH. I'm not doing that here. Don't insult your hosts is the basic thing that I learned in politics. Let me just say a few things, a few words of gratitude. First of all, you guys are lucky to have a great congressman who fights for working people in the state of Michigan. Tom Barrett, where are you, Tom? Thank you so much for what you do. We talk a lot about the working families tax cuts. We talk about no taxes on overtime, which we are proud to deliver. No taxes on tips, which we are proud to deliver. The lowest taxes that we've had in this country in a very long time because Tom Barrett went to Washington and fought for the people of this district. Thank you so much, Tom, for everything that you do. I want to thank, of course, the leadership of this great American manufacturer. Hatch was founded in 1952 by two brothers. Where are we at here? Where's the leadership of Hatch at? Thank you, guys. Stand up. Come on. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you, guys. I got a little tour with Daniel Craig and Wally earlier today. Thank you guys so much. I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name, Wally. I don't want to insult you or look like an idiot in front of the TV cameras, but you guys, this is a great facility. So it started, of course, manufacturing parts for M1 rifles for the American warfighter, and now it manufactures all kinds of automotive components that we rely on each and every single day. And one of the things they told me is that business got maybe a little tough, a little uncertain when they had a president of the United States who was obsessed with telling everybody to drive an electric vehicle because too many of those electric vehicle components were not made in America. But now that we are leaning in to great American-made automobiles, Hatch is doing better, the American auto worker is doing better, and President Trump and I are proud to fight for you each and every single day. I've also got to thank our incredible Secretary of Labor. You just heard from her, Secretary Chavez de Reymer. Let's get a round of applause for the great Secretary of Labor. Now, she is a very, very interesting person. She has got a great career. She had a great career in Congress, but I have never met anybody on either the Republican Party or the Democrat Party who is more obsessed with fighting for American workers every single day. She wants our workers to have the best training. She wants our workers to have the best benefits. She wants our workers to have the highest wages. And thanks to her work, we're getting closer every single day to being the most pro-worker administration in the history of the United States of America. So thank you, Madam Secretary. We also have Michigan GOP Chair Jim Runstad. Where's Jim at? Jim, thank you for everything that you're doing. Now, Jim did such a good job during the last election in 2024 that the previous GOP Chair, Pete Heckstra, is now our ambassador to Canada. So if you do a really good job, man, you might just get a promotion. Who knows? But he's doing a great job here in Michigan, and we're going to fight with him for the next couple of years to make sure that we're electing candidates who actually serve the interests of Michiganders and serve the interests of the American worker, and that's what we're here for, and we'll never forget it. So I want to say just one thing about my friend Charlie Kirk. I want to talk about Charlie Kirk for a little bit. And the last group I want to have be recognized here is we have got a lot of kids, and I hate to call you kids, but when you're 41 years old, you guys are kids. TPUSA is a great organization founded by my friend Charlie Kirk that takes the message of free speech and conservative values all over our college campuses here in the state of Michigan and elsewhere. And we've got some proud TPUSA folks here. Would you guys stand up and be recognized by the crowd? We love you. We love these kids, and we love the organization that was founded by Charlie Kirk. And I know I speak for all of the kids behind me, all of the great TPUSA members, and also the alums, that over the past 10 years, Turning Point USA has not just been an organization, it has been the fountain of a movement all across the United States of America. If you look at just the youth vote in 2024 and how much young voters shifted from Democrat to Republican from 2020 to 2024, Charlie Kirk created a movement. And that movement made Donald J. Trump the President of the United States, and it made me the Vice President of the United States. I would not be here without Charlie. But Charlie was an exceptionally talented individual. People don't realize how integral he was, how important Charlie Kirk was. He helped us staff the administration with solid people like Secretary Chavez DeRemer. He made sure that when we hired somebody, that it was a smart person, but it was also a kind and decent person. You see him at these college events, and he would talk to anybody. He didn't care if you were a Democrat, a Republican, a liberal, a conservative, if you supported the Trump administration or not. He felt that the most important American political virtue was to just get out there and talk to our fellow Americans. And I hate to say that a week ago, he was doing what he did best, he was doing what he loved, and an assassin gunned him down for daring to say things that that assassin thought were wrong or shouldn't be said. Well, I think I speak for every person in this room, and I think I speak for a majority of our fellow Americans when I say we do not attack or commit violence against people because we disagree with their ideas. We debate ideas, and we're going to keep on debating them in honor of the great Charlie Kirk for as long as I have a microphone. But the last thing I want to say about Charlie, my friends, is he was more than a political organizer, more than a person who literally helped make me the Vice President of the United States. And I'll never forget it, Charlie, that I would not be here were it not for you. He was a good guy. He was a good friend. I mean, all of these people who have been involved in TPUSA, you know, Turning Point USA, it wasn't just a debate society. It wasn't just a political organization. It gave these kids a sense of home and a sense of purpose in often very hostile places. If you were a young conservative or you were a young Christian and you were worried that a professor might give you a bad grade for being who you were, Charlie's Turning Point USA gave you a home. If you were worried that you had an idea that was maybe disfavored by your social group, if you were worried that you believed something that was just a little too controversial for a college campus, Turning Point USA gave you a home, it gave you friends, it gave you moral support, and that is what I think must live on in the wake of Charlie Kirk's death. I have friends who met a husband, a wife, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, who met the best man at their wedding at Turning Points USA because it was an organization of patriots dedicated to making this country the very best country that it could be. And I would like to think that whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, this basic idea of young people gathering to discuss and debate, that is the thing that we cannot let pass away just because the leader of Turning Points USA was gunned down by an assassin. And I want to let you know that whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, whatever your belief is, I will fight for your right to speak your mind. We reject political violence, and we reject the crazy left-wing radicals that gunned down our friend Charlie Kirk. Let's talk to one another and not try to shoot each other down for disagreeing. You know, one of the things that Charlie worked on very, very hard was the very bill that we're going to talk about today. I remember having so many phone conversations, so many text conversations with Charlie about how to make the bill better, about how to do more for working families. Because you know what, Charlie, he believed exactly what I believed and exactly what the President of the United States believed, that we have got to rebuild the American dream, especially for our young people, which is why this big, beautiful bill does so much to bring American manufacturing back to the United States of America. These working families tax cuts, they don't just cut your taxes, though they certainly do. They reward companies for building and investing in the United States of America. Because isn't it nice to have an administration that is fighting for the businesses and the workers that are building right here at home rather than shipping our jobs off to Asia or Mexico? We fought for no taxes on overtime and no taxes on tips because we want you to keep more of your hard-earned money. We fought for an increase to the child tax credit because we want to make it easier for young families to bring new life into this world and to raise that new life in security and prosperity and comfort. The working families tax cut is not just a big 1,000-page bill. It is an important part, maybe the most important part, to restarting the American dream in this country. Wouldn't it be nice to have a president, and now we do, who builds in America rather than rewards companies for shipping jobs overseas? Wouldn't it be nice to have an administration that actually gives you more of your hard-earned money rather than taking more of it for hard-earned or for government bureaucrats? Wouldn't it be nice to have an administration that fights for your ability to keep more money in your pocket? Wouldn't it be nice to have an administration that punishes corporations that ship our jobs overseas, but rewards businesses for building right here in the great state of Michigan? That is what we promised to do, and that is what we're doing every single day. Now, I don't know if you saw the headlines this morning, if you turned on the TV this morning, but the president right now is participating in a great state visit to the United Kingdom, our closest ally, of course, going back to the very beginning of our country when we didn't always agree very early on. But pretty much since then, they've been very close friends of the United States, about 200 years, our most important ally in the world. And the president is over there, and somebody asked me, would you rather be in England celebrating the state visit? I said, no, I'd rather be right here in the great state of Michigan where people are grilled and great products for the American people. So with all due respect to our great president and all due respect to the King of England, I am so proud to be right here where I am today, with all of you talking about all of the ways in which we can continue to build an America that works for normal Americans again. And that means a lot of things. Part of making this country work for you all is making sure you're safe in your communities and safe in your streets. And one of the proudest things the President of the United States has done in Washington, D.C. and in Memphis as of a couple of days ago is to send the National Guard to take back American streets. We deserve to be safe in our communities again, and that's what the President is making happen.
That was Vice President J.D. Vance delivering remarks from Michigan. He spoke about memories of Charlie Kirk and on President Trump's tax cuts. If you have any feedback on this show or have something you'd like to see us cover, send us an email at news.today@ntd.com. We'd love to hear from you. We'll cover more news right after this break.